Chapter 2295. On the same day, the nine-palace golden immortal sect and the ancient Bodhi temple held a secret meeting. Heaven Highness Feibao was sitting at the main seat in a forbidden area of the former. The rulers of Tao, masters of Tao, and geniuses were seated below him. Apart from Song and Yi Zhaoxian, the alliance between the Li clan and the Wang clan, the Su clan, the Zheng clan, the royal tribe of the Immortal Spirit tribe, and many others have sent us secret letters. They want to negotiate with us and form an alliance, a ruler realm expert declared loudly. He then listed out the conditions one by one. The crowd murmured among themselves. Some agreed, while others disagreed. That's enough. That's enough. Heaven Highness Feibao slapped the armrest and said with a smile, "We'll stick to our principles. We won't ally with anyone and we won't offend anyone. Let's make the business of the casino bigger for me. As for Qin Nan's faction, we won't help them, nor will we kill them." Many rulers of Tao and the masters of Tao frowned. Heaven Highness Feibao withdrew his smile and said, "Remember, the times are changing rapidly. No matter what choice we make, we might end up as pawns or dogs. We will die a horrible death in the end. We might not be able to grow stronger, but we can at least maintain the peace of the nine-palace golden immortal sect." Peace and longevity were more than enough. As for the latter, Mingxin Bodhisattva was sitting on the throne of the Buddha in an ancient Zen ground. The other Buddhas were standing in a line with their palms together. "I believe we should fight for it even if the world is in danger. Only then can the secrets of Bodhi and the Buddhas become the strongest Tao." "That's not right. I believe it's certain that Song and Yi Zhaoxian are going to make a comeback and become the strongest cultivator of the primary upper realm. Our ancient Bodhi temple is no match for them. If that's the case, why don't we join hands with them and become their Buddhism sect?" The ancient Buddhas discussed among themselves. In the end, Mingxin Bodhisattva uttered a chant that echoed across the clouds. Everyone fell silent. Mingxin Bodhisattva said with a smile, "None of the three choices you mentioned are acceptable. We should be like the Nine Palaces Golden Immortal sect, helping no one, killing no one, and fighting for nothing. In addition to it, the Nine Heavens Immortal Realm is in a great turmoil. Many cultivators are in a panic, not knowing what to do. Why don't we take this opportunity to open up the Buddhist sect and recruit cultivators from all over the world to join our Buddhist sect? That being said, our ancient Bodhi temple might be wiped out one day if we do that. However, we've already spread the profundities of Bodhi and the kindling of Buddhism throughout the entire primary upper realm. In this way, it will be able to multiply and multiply endlessly, existing for eternity. Amit Ba. Mingxin Bodhisattva put his palms together. Unlike the two factions, the royal tribe of immortal spirits, the Mumen sect, the Zheng clan, the Su clan, Heaven Highness Dark Owl, and Yang Ling Tianzuan were planning something in secret. Most of it was Tsang and Yi Zhaoxian who expressed their stance. If they encountered Qin Nan, they would definitely not let him go. Meanwhile, deep inside the City of Darkness in the battlefield of Aeon, since the ruler of the four demons achieved the Heaven Highness realm, it was the first time someone had taken the leftmost seat among the three empty seats. Moxie, Demon Emperor Wutian, Ruler Canlang, the City Lord of the City of Darkness, and the others were seated on both sides. Their statuses were different from one another. The Heavenly Highness of the four demons swirled the cup in his hand. He glanced sideways and said, "You're targeting Tang Qingshan first, and now you're targeting Empress Feiyue, forcing my master to merge with his clone? Moxie, is that your brilliant idea? You can't even find Empress Feiyue now." Saying this, he crushed the cup into pieces with a loud bang. A shocking aura burst out of the cup. The whole hall shook vigorously. In comparison, the auras of Moxie, Demon Emperor Wutian, and the others were minuscule. The difference was like the difference between the heavens and earth. Moxie wore a calm expression. He said with a smile, "Senior Fourth Demons, No one would expect such an accident to happen in the Blue Dome. However, I believe we can find Empress Feiyue if we put in some effort. We can achieve our plan. Before he could finish, the Heavenly Highness of the Four Demons uttered coldly, "Shut up." Demon Monarch Wutian's expression changed. He was about to lash out angrily when he suddenly recalled that ever since his master had appeared, his master had repeatedly tried to scheme against him, only to return empty-handed every single time. Furthermore, his relationship with his master had grown more and more strained. As such, he chose to remain silent. Perhaps this master of his was really a little old. The other rulers of Dao remained silent. They did not lend a hand. In the ancient era, when their master was still alive, Moxie's status was higher than theirs. Before the battlefield of God's aura was activated, Moxie's status was slightly higher than theirs too. However, things were different now. The core of every faction was the authority of the Heaven Highness realm. Without a Heaven Highness, the faction would either submit to someone else or be destroyed. Moxie's expression stiffened, but he soon recovered with a smile and said, "Senior Fourth Demons, what do you have in mind?" The Heavenly Highness of the Four Demons harumphed coldly. His eyes emitted a bloody glow. "It's simple. We'll find an excuse to ask Qin Nan to leave the Undying Cycle Mountain. Then, we'll use brute force to bring Qin Nan back. We'll force him to sense the existence of his clone and merge with it." Moxie's expression shifted. He snapped, "Fourth Demons, how bold of you! You dare to harm my master? Are you trying to rebel?" There was a difference between a master and a servant. A servant was not allowed to harm their master under any circumstances. The Heavenly Highness of the Four Demons chuckled coldly and said, "Moxie, why are you still so stubborn under the circumstances? If you don't dare to merge with the clone and achieve the Heaven Highness realm before Tsang achieves the Heaven Highness realm, the consequences will be unimaginable. I'm only doing it for my master's sake. Even if my master learns about it, he won't blame me. Besides, Qin Nan isn't my master yet." The Heavenly Highness of the Four Demons paused and looked at Demon Lord Wutian and the others. "What do you think?" Demon Lord Wutian sensed Moxie's piercing gaze, and his body stiffened. In the end, he braced himself and nodded. No one objected. Moxie's heart turned cold when he saw that. Chapter 2296. Meanwhile, in a cave somewhere in the space-time battlefield, when the last wisp of immortal intent was absorbed, a series of cracking sounds came from Empress Feiyue's body, as if some kind of chains were breaking. A few moments later, Empress Feiyue's eyes slowly sprang open. His light blue eyes were filled with doubt and confusion. "Am I in the space-time battlefield?" She stared ahead and sensed her surroundings. She murmured in her heart, "Why would she be in the space-time battlefield? Wasn't she in the Blue Dome?" She suddenly felt something cold on her face. She reached out her hand and saw two streams of tears. "I am crying?" Empress Feiyue was startled. Since she had invented the art of 3 lifetimes in the Kanglan continent, she had never cried no matter what kind of hardship or pain she had gone through. What exactly is going on? She quickly let out a sigh when she realized that something was not right. She calmed her thoughts and recalled what happened. Several scenes surged into her divine sense like a surging tide. At first, she had coincidentally stumbled into the soul-gathering book. For some reason, she allowed Ji Jinzi's will to take over her body. Ji Jinzi soon found Qin Nan's help. The two entered the Blue Dome together. When she saw Ji Jinzi taking off her clothes, taking the initiative to lean toward Qin Nan, and saying those words, her body tensed up involuntarily. When she saw the 3 supreme treasures in the Land of Sighs, as well as the formation, she couldn't help but frown. Once he started to frown, he never loosened it again. Besides, when Qin Nan was sealed and severely injured, and Ji Jinzi's tears and regret were like mountains and immortal sabers landing on her heart. Anger, heartache. Song. Empress Feiyue's icy eyes flickered with a shocking murderous intent. The whole cave began to tremble vigorously. The mysterious existences outside immediately fled for their lives, as if they were struck by lightning. She had rarely hated anyone in her life. However, everything that Song had done to Qin Nan, including using his daughter, Ji Jinzi, and Fairy Cheong Yu's remnant soul as a chess piece, made her extremely resentful. After an entire hour, her killing intent finally dissipated, and her mind gradually calmed down. She scanned the storage bag with her divine sense, and was about to ask Princess Miao Miao and the others about Qin Nan's condition when she saw the other badges emitting rays of light. She scanned the area with her divine sense, and her eyes narrowed slightly. The badges were telling them about the great changes that had taken place in the Nine Heavens' immortal realm over the past few days. With her intelligence, it was only natural for her to see what kind of situation Qin Nan and the others were in at a glance. Qin Nan, Empress Feiyue clenched her fists. The current situation did not have much to do with her. No matter what happened later, it would still be the same in the end. Qin Nan would still be at a disadvantage. However, Qin Nan's 9 Dragons seal had been sealed off by Tsang. She was well aware of how important the 9 Dragons seal was to Qin Nan. Tsang and Yi Zhaoxian knew everything that Qin Nan had, including Zhou Di and Huang Fuju. Under such circumstances, how could Tsang and Yi Zhaoxian, who were both Supreme Highnesses in the past, not come up with a plan? If Qin Nan wanted to defeat Tsang and Yi Zhaoxian, the 9 Dragons seal was his only hope. It was the only variable. Last time, Qin Nan exposed the fact that he was Zhou Di's reincarnation because of me too. This time, it's also because of me that he. Empress Feiyue clenched her fists even tighter. Even her body began to tremble. No, I must help him. Empress Feiyue's eyes sharpened. But how was she supposed to help him? Wait 2 years and become a Heaven Highness realm expert in the battlefield of God's breaths? Although she cultivated the art of 10 lifetimes and could indeed surpass ordinary celestial venerables after becoming a celestial venerate, she knew very well that compared to Tsang and Yi Zhaoxian, there was still a large gap. As such, she could not help Qin Nan too much. Unless she could become stronger, to the point where she was on par with Yi Zhaoxian and Tsang. But how was she supposed to do that? Was there any place in the 9 Heavens' immortal realm that could make her stronger? She was lost in her thoughts. She was overwhelmed by a strong sense of helplessness. It was most likely the most helpless thing in the world. Even if you were brave, determined, and fearless, the path ahead was pitch black. There was no way out. In the end, there was nothing you could do. The entire cave became silent. She was like a statue, sitting cross-legged on the spot, motionless. Countless scenes flashed across her mind. Some time later, she recalled something that Yi Zhaoxian had said when she was exploring the place with Yi Zhaoxian and the others. To be honest, Tsang, Zhou Di, Huang Fuju, and I were planning to enter the upper profound realm to explore the secrets of the 9 Heavens' immortal realm. However, something happened in the end, so Huang Fuju and I couldn't go in. It was something that happened a long time ago. Most of the people who heard this would only think, what kind of unforeseen event happened at that time? What did Tsang and Zhou Di stumble into in the upper profound realm? However, for Empress Feiyue, the words were like a ray of lightning that swept across her divine sense and shattered her confusion. Got it. Empress Feiyue rose to her feet. She unleashed her aura and sprang into the sky without any hesitation. Her target was the Blue Dome, the upper profound realm. She knew how terrifying the upper profound realm was. Even Heaven Highness realm experts would not dare to enter it. Even Yi Zhaoxian and Huang Fuju, who were Supreme Highnesses, did not dare to enter it to explore its secrets. However, the more it was so, the more she had to go. Over the past few thousand years, she was able to grow stronger and invent the art of 3 lifetimes, the art of 10 lifetimes, and become a peerless legend because she had always followed the same principle in everything she did. The greater the risk, the greater the reward. If even the Supreme Highnesses were afraid of the upper profound realm, she would have a great chance to achieve the same level as Yi Zhaoxian and Tsang if she could go in alone and survive. If she failed, she would die. If she succeeded, she would get what she wanted. Meanwhile, in the rift in the 15th small immortal realm, inside the undying cycle mountain, the calm lake in the 4th layer of the mountain suddenly began to boil. Wisps of golden light entered Qin Nan's body. Chapter 2297. Xiao Nanzi. Little husband. Two pleasant voices filled with joy immediately appeared. Princess Miao Miao and Xue Mengyao appeared beside Qin Nan simultaneously and hugged him from both sides. Pleasant smells immediately entered his nose. Jiang Bailan slowly approached from not far away with a charming smile. "Thank you for your hard work," Qin Nan said with a smile. Although he had lost consciousness, he knew very well how serious the impact he had received at that time was. If it weren't for Princess Miao Miao and the others, he would still be unconscious. Qin Nan soon sensed something. He raised his head and looked upward. The 5th, 6th, and 7th layers had all been opened. Various rare phenomena were taking place on the walls. In addition to that, an illusionary voice could be heard coming from the 7th layer mountain. Although he could not hear it clearly, he could feel that each syllable contained the truth of the heavens and earth, causing his heart to shudder. "Xiao Nanzi, I have some good news for you. Grandpa Ling Huang has achieved the Heaven Highness realm. He's currently giving a speech." Princess Miao Miao said. "He has achieved the Heaven Highness realm? What happened to the 9 heavens immortal realm?" Qin Nan asked quickly. "Well, there are some changes." Princess Miao Miao, Xue Mengyao, and Jiang Bailan exchanged glances with one another. "Qin Nan, these 3 girls don't want to put too much pressure on you. Let me explain." Zhou Xuandao's voice echoed in Qin Nan's divine sense. Following it, countless words appeared in his mind. Qin Nan took a quick glance and took a deep breath. The overall situation had taken a turn for the worse. If it weren't for the undying cycle mountain, preventing Tsang and Yi Zhaoxian from locating them, wouldn't they have attacked them by now? Besides, how long could the undying cycle mountain protect them for? Tsang would surely achieve the Heaven Highness realm in 2 years. By then, Tsang and Yi Zhaoxian would most likely be able to locate the undying cycle mountain. How were they going to deal with it? At that instant, a great pressure surged in Qin Nan's direction. The situation was not looking good, and he was also. "Seniors, what do you think I should do under the circumstances?" Qin Nan asked immediately. He was no longer an ignorant person. Even though everything was disadvantageous to him, and it could even be said that he had reached a dead end, his backbone would definitely not be crushed so easily. Besides, he believed that there was no such thing as a dead end. There must be another way. "I've discussed it with Jiapa," Zhou Xuandao said seriously. "There are 2 main problems." Zhou Xuandao said sternly, "We are currently facing an invisible crisis. Once Tsang becomes a celestial master, he will definitely be able to find the undying cycle mountain and destroy it with his attainments in origin energy. If you fail to achieve the Heaven Highness realm in 2 years, you will have no chance to fight back. You will die for sure. It's not difficult to resolve the danger. You just need to prepare in advance and barge into the battlefield of God Aura to participate in the Battle of Heaven Highnesses. However, even if you become a Heaven Highness, you won't be able to change the outcome." Jiapa's voice echoed, "That's right. Master." Although Tsang was extremely arrogant that day, what he said was right. If you had followed the prescribed order and upgraded the impenetrable sacred body to the eternal indestructible body, then cultivated the immortal demon true art to perfection and merged the 2 into 1. Even so, I'm afraid you still won't stand a chance against Song. Qin Nan nodded. He had already sensed how terrifying Song was during the battle against him. Song's Heaven Highness arts and capabilities were not something he could compare to. Besides, Song was now reborn in the Nine Heavens' immortal realm. It was like he had a second chance. He would surely be stronger than before. Therefore, Elder Zhou and I believe there's only one way for you to resolve the danger in 2 years' time. You have to break into the upper profound realm of the Blue Dome. Jiapa and Zhou Xuandao wore wry smiles upon hearing this. How was that even an option? It was obviously a suicide mission. Now that the Nine Dragons seal was sealed, with his current cultivation and the help of Heaven Highness Ling Huang and the others, he could only reach the inner part of the intermediate profound realm at most. The upper profound realm, huh? Qin Nan's eyes were engulfed in flames. Qin Nan. Meanwhile, Ancestor Mingqiu, Ancestor Shuangdao, Ruler Green Jade, and the others arrived after hearing the news. Celestial Venerable Ling Huang also temporarily stopped his speech and stepped through the air. Greetings, seniors. Thank you for your hard work during this period. Senior Ling Huang, congratulations on achieving the Heaven Highness realm. Qin Nan greeted them one by one. All right, there's no need for formalities between us. Are you aware of the situation in the Nine Heavens' immortal realm? Heaven Highness Ling Huang asked. He smiled when he saw Qin Nan nodding. Even though the situation isn't looking good, we still have high hopes for you. Besides, it's not like we haven't received any good news in the past few days. Qin Nan was startled. There was good news? The Mingqiu progenitor fondled his beard and said, Many factions in the Nine Heavens' immortal realm have sided with Song and Yi Zhaoxian. Even if they didn't, they have already sent a signal. They won't side with us. However, the Sherdao tribe has decided to side with us. Qin Nan was confused. Was it the Sherdao tribe again? He remembered the Sherdao tribe had approached him before he achieved the ruler realm. However, he did not pay much attention to it. Why would the Sherdao tribe? Isn't it strange? We don't understand this either. Heaven Highness Ling Huang shook his head and said, A few days ago, the royal tribe of immortal spirits tried to conquer the other tribes, but the Sherdao tribe refused to surrender. In the end, they even gave up on their territory and fled with most of their people. They are now hiding in the 15th small immortal realm. We've contacted the rulers of the Sherdao tribe. They are very sincere and have offered us great benefit. They are basically helping us for free. Of course, they want to decide with you personally. They want you to agree to a condition. Qin Nan frowned. Agree to a condition? What kind of condition was it? Ruler Green Jade looked at Qin Nan and said, Qin Nan, we've had a long discussion over the past few days. We suggest you go and have a talk with the Sherdao tribe since they are willing to do so. Chapter 2298. Heaven Highness Ling Huang, Ancestor Mingqiu, and the others fell silent. As a matter of fact, they had already guessed that the only way Qin Nan could convince Mo Xie and the others to submit to him was to merge with Huang Fuju's flesh. It was a risky move. Qin Nan was against it too. However, under the current circumstances, they had no choice but to bring it up again to persuade Qin Nan. After all, the new Heaven Highness Four Demon was Huang Fuju's subordinate too. If he could get their help, then the current situation would be reversed by a large margin. Qin Nan. Zhou Xuandao said seriously, Cassiopeia and I have to tell you about it too. For now, you must merge with Huang Fuju's flesh. Not only will this allow you to increase your strength to a higher level, it will also allow your alliance to become extremely powerful. You will make Song and Yi Zhaoxian not dare to provoke you in the near future. Besides, if you're planning to go to the upper profound realm of the Blue Dome, you'll be able to protect yourself too. Cassiopeia nodded and said, My master, the only thing you should be careful of is to refine the indestructible flesh of eternity before you do it. Otherwise, your art of the immortal demon will reach the perfect level after merging with the flesh. It might break the balance in your body. Qin Nan was startled. He said, "But, if that's the case, Huang Fu Ju might." Zhou Xuandao and Cassiopeia smiled before he could finish. The former said, "Qin Nan, there's no need to worry. Cassiopeia and I have full faith in you. You will be able to resist the invasion of Huang Fu Ju's will, and stay true to yourself." Qin Nan felt warmth in his heart. Normally, Zhou Xuandao and Cassiopeia would not want to see him merging with Huang Fu Ju's flesh, but they were supporting him instead of stopping him. They were doing it for his own good. "Got it." Qin Nan nodded. He looked at Heaven Highness Ling Huang and the others and said, "Seniors, don't you worry, I'll bring everyone over in a few days." Heaven Highness Ling Huang and the others immediately let out relieved sighs. They wore smiles on their faces. At that instant, the badge in Qin Nan's storage bag suddenly emitted a glow. Qin Nan scanned it with his divine sense, and said with a smile, "What a surprise!" Mo Xie had transmitted a message to him. Qin Nan peeked into the badge and heard Mo Xie say, "Qin Nan, the situation, the of the demon Dao, we are willing to lend you a hand." Qin Nan was surprised. He and the others were willing to help him? Qin Nan squinted. Ever since he met Mo Xie had always addressed him as my lord, and had never called him by his real name. Was the exception? Or was he doing it on purpose? Qin Nan pondered for a moment. He did not answer the question. When the time was right, he would tell them that he was recovering in seclusion due to the serious injuries he had suffered. "Qin Nan, the patriarch of the Sherdao tribe, just sent us another message. He's asking us," Heaven Highness Ling Huang said. Qin Nan was just about to nod his head when a rare occurrence took place. At the center of his soul, the 9-dragon stone seal that had been sealed all this time suddenly shone with a dazzling light. "Is that?" Qin Nan's attention was immediately attracted by it. Zhou Xuandao and Cassiopeia were startled too. However, before they could react, a tremendous glow devoured Qin Nan's will at lightning speed. Qin Nan could only feel the world spinning around him. When he collected his thoughts, his will had arrived in a pitch-black space. He was surrounded by a vast space with no end in sight. Qin Nan. Along with the sound of a tender voice, a ray of white light appeared out of nowhere. It fell down and condensed into an illusory figure less than 5 feet tall. "You're Wu Di. Weren't you sealed away? Why are you?" Qin Nan was startled. "Hee, how could a mere seal like that seal be enough to seal me away?" Wu Di chuckled disdainfully. As a matter of fact, if he had a physical body, Qin Nan would have noticed the look in his eyes when he said the words. As Qin Nan had mentioned, he was indeed sealed away. He was only able to come out this time because of the other soul in Qin Nan's body. At first, it did not expect that the strange ripple it had sensed last time was actually from the other soul in Qin Nan's body. Furthermore, the other soul was actually. That being said, he did not tell Qin Nan the truth because of the other soul's intention. Moreover, when he thought about it carefully, the other soul's words did make a lot of sense. But I can only come out this once." Wu Di thought of something and hurriedly added, "Wu Di, hurry up and tell me. What method should I use to help you remove the seal? Do I have to find those stones?" Qin Nan asked without hesitation. Those stones. I was a little bored and came up with an interesting idea, so I wanted to find some to try. In truth, they don't have much use," Wu Di said a little embarrassedly. Qin Nan's lips twitched. "Qin Nan, since things have come to this, I'll tell you the truth. Due to various reasons, the seal is rather severe. If you can't become a Supreme Empyrean, you won't be able to remove the seal by any other method." Wu Di sighed. "I have to become a Supreme Empyrean?" Qin Nan's eyes widened and he smiled bitterly. It was extremely difficult to break through to the Empyrean realm. If he wanted to become a Supreme Empyrean, who knew when he would have the chance? Yes, that's why I came out this time. I want to tell you not to think about removing the seal for me. At this point, Woody's tone turned proud. Besides, seeing how you've fallen, I don't mind pointing out a bright path for you. If you can do it, you'll be able to turn everything around. You might even be able to trample Tsang and Yi Zhaoxian under your feet. Qin Nan perked up. He immediately asked, "What bright path?" Wu Di said, "Qin Nan, in terms of your constitution and cultivation technique, you're not inferior to Tsang and Yi Zhaoxian at all. You're only inferior to them because you haven't been through enough training. Both Tsang and Yi Zhaoxian reached the Supreme Empyrean Realm step by step. As for your words, half of them originated from your 2 previous lives." Chapter 2299. Just as Wu Di was about to continue speaking, he suddenly realized that it would be unbecoming of him to speak while standing. As such, it sat with its legs crossed at a steady pace and glanced down at Qin Nan. From afar, it looked like a teacher teaching his disciple. Wu Di cleared his throat and said, "As of now, the only place in the entire primary upper realm that can allow you to become stronger than Tsang and Yi Zhaoxian is the Blue Dome's upper profound realm." Qin Nan didn't care about these details at all. He nodded and said, "The 2 seniors have already told me about this. I'm also planning to go there and try my luck." Wu Di said, "That place is indeed not bad. With your current cultivation, if you can really enter that place and survive, you'll definitely be able to do it. Furthermore, I don't mind telling you that there's a shocking secret hidden in the depths of the upper profound realm. It completely surpasses the level of a Supreme Empyrean. If you can obtain it, the number 1 position in the primary upper realm will definitely be yours." Qin Nan's heart trembled slightly. However, before he had time to think, Wu Di suddenly changed the topic. "However, Qin Nan, it's not that this young master wants to discourage you, but let alone the upper profound realm, even if you only enter the middle profound realm, you'll still die without a doubt." Qin Nan frowned and said, "What do you mean?" It was true that he would most likely die if he entered the upper profound realm. However, with his current cultivation and the help of Empyrean Ling Huang, how could he possibly die in the middle profound realm? Wu Di coughed and said, "There's no other reason. It's just that back then, this young master suppressed the heaven regicide halberd, the primordial pagoda, the 3 supreme treasures that made a move against me in the land of lamentation too badly. Once they sense that you've gone there and that I'm sealed and unable to protect you, they'll definitely kill you without mercy. The power they're releasing right now is not small. Even Yi Zhaoxian would most likely die if she ran into them." Qin Nan's heart sank. He said, "Is there no other way to deal with this?" Wu Di sighed. "Not at the moment." Qin Nan immediately took a light breath. If that was the case, then it wouldn't just be a matter of not being able to enter the upper profound realm to temper himself. It had to be known that the divine aura battlefield, the only place in the primary upper realm where one could become an Empyrean, was within the middle profound realm. If he couldn't even enter the heaven profound realm, then wouldn't he be unable to even break through to the Empyrean realm? "Wu Di, is there another path we can take?" Qin Nan quickly calmed down and asked. "Hey, when did your reaction become so fast?" Wu Di's face was filled with astonishment. Soon after, his interest waned as he said, "I was just trying to scare you. I didn't expect you to notice it so quickly. Forget it, I'll just tell you directly. Do you remember when the people of the Sherdao tribe, the Mumin sect, and a few Heaven Highness clans were looking for you in the Dao-seeking land?" Qin Nan recalled briefly and said, I do remember it. The people of the Sherdao tribe have been targeting me because of the divine god of battle. However, after my identity as Zhou Zhao's reincarnation was exposed, they changed their attitude and asked me to join hands with them. The ancient era. Qin Nan immediately came to a realization. "Are you saying?" Wu Di chuckled and said, "That's right. It's the most suitable path for you now." If you can return to the ancient era, you will be able to temper yourself and surpass your current strength. At the same time, you can also achieve the Heaven Highness realm with the help of the ancient era. You won't have to enter the upper profound realm. Besides, if you go to the Blue Dome in the ancient era, the sky-killing halberd, the primordial pagoda, and the others won't necessarily target you. Qin Nan's heart shuddered. His eyes were engulfed in an illusionary flame. It had to be said that Wu Di's words had opened a new door for him. The current era had declined greatly. It was impossible for anyone to reach Song and Yi Zhaoxian's level. However, wouldn't it be a great chance if he could return to the ancient era? Alright, I've said what I have to say. You can talk to the people of the Sherdao tribe about how to proceed with the plan. Wu Di stretched his back. The pitch-black space shuddered. Oh, by the way, there's something else I have to tell you. Even though I don't really like Zhou Di and Huang Fuju, I'm more disgusted by Huang Fuju's subordinate. The two monks who tried to kill your senior brother in the third forbidden area were actually that Emo Xie and the Demon Emperor in disguise. You should keep an eye on them. Qin Nan was startled. Emo Xie and Demon Emperor Wutian did it? Why would they target his senior brother? Were they trying to turn him into a demon so that he could merge with his flesh in advance? That's all I have to say. I'm going back to sleep. Remember to wake me up when you achieve the Supreme Highness realm. As soon as Wu Di finished speaking, the pitch-black space completely collapsed and ceased to exist. Qin Nan's mind returned to his body. Meanwhile, at the old site of the heaven-slaying sect in the first immortal realm, a series of shocking explosions suddenly took place in a boundless mountain range. A terrifying force burst out from the explosions and razed the mountain range to the ground in less than 10 breaths' time. A moment later, a figure walked out from the dust. His body was emitting a series of crackling noises. His aura was rising rapidly, becoming incredibly magnificent. Everything in the world seemed to pale in comparison to him. The man was none other than Song. Cultivator Yi, I'll have to trouble you to retrieve the remaining 7 Heaven Emperor orbs for me, Song said with a smile. Why don't you go yourself? Yi Zhaoxian stood not far away with an expressionless face. Sigh, you should know that my brother is still alive. Now that I'm reincarnated, I should at least pay him a visit, right? Song let out a sigh. Oh? He's still alive? Where is he now? Yi Zhaoxian raised her brows. Haha, I'm not going to tell you that. That kid used to read your fortune and said that you would die a horrible death. You won't even have a chance to reincarnate. If you knew where he was, would you let him go? Chapter 2300. Meanwhile, in the undying Cycle Mountain, Qin Nan, what's wrong with the 9-dragon seal? Zhou Xuandao and Jia Yapa asked when they noticed something. Qin Nan, what happened? Heaven Highness Ling Huang, Princess Miao Miao, and the others looked at Qin Nan worriedly, especially those at the back. Their eyes were filled with worry. The artifact in my body warned me not to go to the Blue Dome. It said I would be erased if I entered the intermediate profound realm. It suggested that I take another path to return to the ancient era. Qin Nan calmed his thoughts and said, Return to the ancient era? Zhou Xuandao and Jia Yapa's eyes widened. They had totally forgotten about it. Erased? What's going on? Heaven Highness Ling Huang and the others asked with startled expressions. Heaven Highness Ling Huang and the others frowned after hearing Qin Nan's brief explanation. Their expressions were not pleasant. If that was the case, they would be in big trouble. Qin Nan said with a smile, Seniors, why are you being so stubborn? Isn't there another way? Heaven Highness Ling Huang shook his head and said, Qin Nan, you might not know this, but the Sherdao tribe, Mumin sect, Qin clan, and the others have been using the same method since around 9,000 years ago. However, as far as I know, not only did they not succeed in the past 8 or 9,000 years, the great majority of them not only did not increase their cultivations, but instead regressed. On top of that, It's extremely risky to return to the ancient era. I heard many rulers of Tao died right away. Qin Nan was startled. Was it that unreliable? Wait a minute, if the 9 Dragon seal mentioned it, it should be, seniors, there's no need to worry for now. Why don't we pay the people of the Sherdao tribe a visit? Qin Nan said. That's fine too, there's always a way out. There's bound to be a chance and hope. Heaven Highness Ling Huang let out a relieved sigh and said, The people of the Sherdao tribe are currently hiding in an ancient forbidden land. I'll bring you there. After saying that, heavenly exalted Ling Huang waved his sleeve. A vast and boundless energy surged out and enveloped the few of them. Around 30 breaths later, Qin Nan and the others landed in the rift. The heavens and earth in front of them were fiery red. Strangely shaped mountains rose from the ground in the distance and clustered around one another, with all kinds of strange flowers and plants growing continuously. Qin Nan immediately saw a peerless formation looming over the place, isolating the place from the outside world. Not only that, but each and every one of the mountains, even a single rock, had been set up with a world-shaking seal that contained extremely powerful power. Even a peak ruler would trying to break through the formation had a god of Tao was trying to break through it. Chief Xiang Yuan, Qin Nan has come with me. I hope you can open the door for us. Heaven Highness Ling Huang said. In less than a breath's time after he finished his sentence, the 5 mountains in the middle began to tremble vigorously, resulting in a rumbling sound and a huge cloud of dust being blown into the air. The mountains were pulled apart, revealing a giant golden door with the word Sherdao written on it. The door was an ancient Tao-seeking weapon. More than 20 figures walked out of the door. 5 of them were young men and women in the Master Realm. One of them had met Qin Nan before. They were the younger generation of the Sherdao tribe. On top of them, there were more than 10 peak masters of Tao among them. At the center of the group was a white-haired, decrepit old man with cloudy eyes. His face was pale and his aura was weak. He was supported by a middle-aged man with a square face who was a peak ruler. The middle-aged man was walking slowly, and it seemed like he was having a hard time doing so. Qin Nan immediately noticed the aura the old man was emitting. He was in the peak ruler realm, yet his life force was extremely weak. It was obvious that he was severely injured. Clan leader Xiang Yuan, what happened to you? Didn't you? Heaven Highness Ling Huang asked with a startled expression. Senior Ling Huang, I thought I was fine after being hit by Heaven Highness Lu Feng's palm, but I didn't expect it to act up again in the past few days. It's invisible and has consumed a lot of my life force. Xiang Yuan let out a sigh. He came to a stop and brought his fists together at Qin Nan. Cultivator Qin Nan, I'm sorry, I'm not feeling well. I can't welcome you properly. Qin Nan was startled. He quickly returned the greeting and said, Senior, I can go and see you if you're not feeling well. Why do you have to welcome me in person? Aren't you going to shorten my lifespan? Xiang Yuan coughed and forced a smile. It's only right. In some ways, you're the real clan leader of the Sherdao tribe. The middle-aged man, the masters of Tao, and the young men and women looked at Qin Nan with complicated looks. Qin Nan was startled. Before he could say a word, Xiang Yuan said softly, Cultivator Qin Nan, before we start, the Sherdao tribe would like to apologize to you 3 times. The first one is when the Sherdao tribe decided to kill you after learning you're the successor of the young clan leader. The second one is when the Sherdao tribe didn't lend you a hand when you were in danger. The third one is when we placed the young clan leader's memorial tablet in the tomb of the Sherdao tribe a few months ago. The people of the Sherdao tribe straightened their faces and bowed deeply at Qin Nan upon hearing the words. Heaven Highness Ling Huang and the others exchanged glances with one another. Cultivator Qin Nan, please don't misunderstand us. We aren't trying to play the emotional card to get more benefits from you. It's not because the Sherdao tribe has declined. We're only lowering our heads because we need your help. Xiang Yuan said with a sigh, our Sherdao tribe has been on a decline since the ancient battle ended. Each generation is weaker than the previous one. Many seniors and I have been thinking about why we treated the young clan leader that way. The young clan leader has acknowledged someone else as his master to pursue his dream. It's indeed inappropriate, but why did we treat the young clan leader as a disgrace and treat him as a traitor? Chapter 2301. Xiang Yuan uttered the words firmly as if he had used all his strength. I didn't expect to see the Sherdao tribe change one day. Zhou Xuandao and Cassiopeia couldn't help but sigh when they saw this. All those years ago, when Xiang Zun bore the name of a traitor, they had personally witnessed it. Qin Nan fell silent for a moment. He unleashed the divine battle spirit after some time. The boundless pressure was like a storm, sweeping in all directions. The majestic battle intent soared into the clouds. Qin Nan let out a deep breath. He looked at Xiang Yuan and the others and said, the divine god of battle is the greatest fortunate encounter in my life. I consider him my master. Now that he's no longer in this world, I don't know what he's going to think after seeing this. However, I believe he's going to let out a relieved sigh. He won't complain about it. He might even be touched by it. Xiang Yuan and the others shuddered. Even though none of them had met Xiang Zun before, their hearts were still filled with great astonishment. They could not understand what was going on. Of course, we'll discuss the matter of teaming up with the Sherdao tribe. I might be able to lower my conditions because of the divine god of battle, but I won't lower them by too much. Qin Nan purposely said after calming his thoughts. Of course. Xiang Yuan and the others chuckled. The atmosphere at the scene also became relaxed. Qin Nan, Xiang Yuan, and the others went through the golden door. The Sherdao tribe had declined a long time ago. They had suffered great losses too, but as a formidable tribe, they had accumulated a lot of resources, artifacts, immortal pills, martial arts, and secrets. Every member of the tribe was above the human immortal realm. Most of them had achieved the peerless ruler realm too. The two sides were not in a rush to discuss business. They waited until Qin Nan, Princess Miao Miao, and the others were done paying their respects to the memorial tablet of the divine god of battle before heading to the meeting hall. Qin Nan, Senior Ling Huang, you should be aware of the Sherdao tribe's current situation. I won't mention it further. Xiang Yuan cut straight to the chase and said, if you are willing to accept two of our requests, the people of the Sherdao tribe and everything we have will join your alliance. We will advance and retreat together. Heavenly Venerable Ling Huang, Old Ancestor Ming Chu, and the others couldn't help but tremble slightly. They had contacted Xiang Yuan before. They knew the Sherdao tribe was willing to stand by their side, yet they did not expect the Sherdao tribe to be willing to give up everything they had. Empyrean Ling Huang smiled faintly and said, Clan Head Xiang, tell me, what are the two requests? If we can do it, we will do our best to do it. Xiang Yuan said, the first request is very simple. We hope that the people of the Sherdao tribe will be able to enjoy the resources of the undying Cycle Mountain and receive the protection of the Alliance. Heavenly Sovereign Ling Huang and the others nodded slightly. This request wasn't even considered a request. It was something that should be done. As for the second request, Xiang Yuan's cloudy eyes flickered. He looked at Qin Nan and said, we hope that Qin Nan is willing to return the will to the ancient era with us. He paused for a moment before he said, of course, if cultivator Qin Nan isn't willing to do it, the Sherdao tribe is still willing to form an alliance with you. However, we won't be giving away what we have. I hope cultivator Qin Nan can understand. He was now the clan head of the Sherdao tribe. His duty was to think for the entire Sherdao tribe. Heavenly Venerable Ling Huang put down the teacup and said sternly, may I ask, Clan Head Xiang, how dangerous is it to return the will to the ancient era? How long will it take? Xiang Yuan nodded his head and said, Master Ling Huang, I know you're worried. I'll explain it to you in detail so that you can understand it better. Got it. Meanwhile, in a pitch-black ocean in the westernmost land, a young man was walking on the sea. His white robe was particularly dazzling in the midst of the endless darkness. If Qin Nan, Princess Miao Miao, and Jiang Bailan were here, they would recognize the young man as the mysterious man they had stumbled into. D suddenly came to a stop. There was a white boat not far in front of him. A man was sitting at the bow of the boat. It was none other than Song. D sat at the back of the boat and said, "To be honest, I didn't want to see you. Yi Zhaoxian has been following you all the way here. Now that he has found out where I am, he might come after me one day." Song said with a smile, "You're now a Heaven Highness and have received the recognition of the Tao-seeking land. Why are you afraid of him?" D shrugged and said, "How can I not be afraid? At this rate, you will become a Supreme Heavenly Highness in 50 years at most. You will be stronger than a Supreme Heavenly Highness in 50 years. Song raised his brows. He said in a mocking tone, "Didn't you say I will die if I don't get what I want? Why are you surpassing a Supreme Heavenly Highness in 50 years? D sighed and said, "It's just like you said, no one can see through the Tao of Destiny. I predicted you would die, but you didn't die, and you even came back to life. I've already miscalculated about you and Yi Zhaoxian. Forget it, let's not talk about that. I don't think you've come to me because you miss me, right? Just tell me what's on your mind." Song squinted and said, "I'm here to ask you, is the outcome decided?" D sighed again. He rubbed his brows and said, "Would you believe me if I said it's not decided? Why are you asking me this question? Actually, you already have the answer in your heart. Your only opponent is Qin Nan. The Nine Dragons seal has been completely sealed. He won't be able to recover until he becomes a Supreme Heavenly Highness. However, he won't be able to become a Supreme Heavenly Highness under your demonic hands. As for Yi Zhaoxian, he won't block your path, and you won't block his path. We won't hinder each other. If you want to carry out your grand plan, who can stop you?" Song laughed and said, "Since that's the case, how about I solemnly invite you to come out and help me? With your help, I can unify the primary upper realm when I become a Heavenly Highness." D lowered his eyelids and said coldly, "I hope you don't forget that we broke off our relationship long ago. Besides, I don't want to become the next Nai or the next Xiongyu." Song's eyes showed a hint of disappointment. "I didn't expect that after so many years, you still can't figure this out." D's expression returned to normal. He said, "I really can't figure it out, but you don't have to worry. I won't help you, and I won't help Qin Nan and the others. After all, I don't want to be killed by you." Song smiled and said, "How can that be? No matter what, you're still my younger brother. All right, I've said what I need to say. I have to go back. There are still some things I need to take care of." After saying that, he turned around and disappeared into the vast darkness. She stared at his back. After a while, she raised her head and looked at the chaotic sky. "Is the outcome decided?" Chapter 2302. Meanwhile, in the meeting hall of the Sherdao tribe's temporary residence. "I believe you all know that Yi Zhaoxian is the successor of the space-time boulder. However, that's not the truth. Yi Zhaoxian is only able to use the space-time boulder by chance. Furthermore, even the space-time stone tablet itself was a treasure that had been nurtured by the rules of space-time by chance. It possessed a little bit of it. It's just the essence of space-time. The rules of space-time are one of the supreme rules of the primary upper realm. It's on par with fate, life and death, reincarnation, and many others. In some ways, the rules of space-time even includes them. It's hard to describe its secrets with words. I'm afraid no one can fully comprehend it." Zhou Xuandao and Cassiopeia nodded after hearing Xiang Yuan's words. Around 10,000 years ago, a ruler of Tao happened to find an ancient book in the Blue Dome. It recorded the essence of spacetime. Many factions worked together and studied it. We created the defying altar that can allow one's mind to return to the ancient era. The ancient altar. However, not everyone can use the ancient altar to return to the ancient era. First, the ancient altar requires a huge amount of stones of spacetime every time it's activated. Stones of spacetime are extremely rare now. Our Shurdao tribe only has enough stones of spacetime to teleport 4 people back. Second, once one's mind returns to the ancient era, their flesh will fall into a deep slumber. They will need lots of resources to replenish their energy. Otherwise, they will die. Theoretically speaking, a master of Tao can use the ancient altar too, but it's better for them to reach the ruler realm. Otherwise, it's too risky. Xiang Yuan explained energetically. He no longer looked like a dying old man when he was talking about it. Cultivator Qin Nan, we won't lie to you. It's very risky to use the ancient altar. Our Shurdao tribe has used its 7 rulers of Tao, but only 2 of them came back alive. Their cultivation has dropped to the master realm too. 4 rulers of Tao at the Mumin sect used it too, but they were more successful than us. 3 of them came back alive. One of them achieved the peak ruler realm in the early stage and mastered many Heaven Highness arts and extraordinary Tao. He's stronger than most peak rulers of Tao. We've calculated that the success rate is about 30%. When Heavenly Sovereign Ling Huang and the others heard this, their faces couldn't help but sink. A 30% chance was simply too low. Qin Nan didn't care at all. Instead, he asked curiously, why did their cultivation levels drop? Xiang Yuan took a sip of the tea and said with a smile, there are 2 main reasons for this. Firstly, returning to the ancient era is your intention. Your will be attached to a person. He may be a human immortal or a sovereign. It's hard to say. Secondly, the only thing we can do now is to send our thoughts to year 900 of the Holy Sky calendar. We can't determine the exact time until year 2900 of the Holy Sky calendar. Song, Zhou Di, Huang Fuju, and Yi Zhaoxian rose to prominence in the 6th year of the first Jiu of the Xing Tian calendar. They reached the ruler realm and began to make a name for themselves in the primary upper realm. After that, they reached the supreme Empyrean realm in the 2200th year of the Saint Heavenly calendar. Qin Nan immediately came to a realization after hearing the word. Due to the uncertainty of the defying ancient altar, they didn't know when they would be sent to. If they were sent to the 6th year of the first Jiu of the Holy Sky calendar, it wouldn't be too bad. After all, apart from the 4 supreme Empyreans, there were also many people in the primary upper realm who had shown their brilliance. However, if they were sent to the 2200th year of the Holy Sky calendar, they would be in trouble. After all, the 4 supreme Empyreans had been born in the primary upper realm. The situation in the primary upper realm had been set. On top of that, an earth-shattering battle that would sweep across the primary upper realm would soon take place. Is that why you're looking for me? Qin Nan asked. That's right. Xiang Yuan nodded and said, Young Qin Nan, after a few thousand years of continuous research, we discovered that a cultivator from the ancient era can make the defying ancient altar more stable and increase the success rate. Therefore, we couldn't wait to find you when we learned that you're Zhou Zhao's reincarnation. We couldn't sit still when we learned that you're Zhou Di and Huang Fuju's reincarnation. Xiang Yuan paused briefly before he added, We've always speculated that a supreme Empyrean from the ancient era can control the exact time of the teleportation. Everyone immediately understood what Xiang Yuan was implying. That was because the timing was too important. Whether it was before or after the teleportation, or during a period of turbulence, it was undoubtedly fatal. Ling Huang said with a dark expression, Is it just a speculation? Xiang Yuan said with a wry smile, I won't lie to you. It's just a speculation. We can't do more tests because of the limited conditions. However, we've already simulated it more than 1,000,000 times, so it shouldn't be a problem. Besides, young Qin Nan is the reincarnation of 2 supreme Empyreans, so the success rate of the teleportation is at least 60%. We can be more certain about the time of the teleportation too. Qin Nan's eyes flickered. Senior, may I ask how I'm going to come back? How long will it take? Xiang Yuan said, according to our previous experience, after your mind returns to the ancient times, the power of space-time rules will descend and allow you to return to the present and return to your body after 50 to 100 years. On top of that, you've been there for 50 years, but only 2 years have passed when you return to the ancient era. Only 4 years have passed in 100 years. It feels like you've returned to the ancient era in a dream that lasted 1,000 years. Princess Miao Miao could not help but ask, Senior, if I return to the era when Tsang, Yi Zhaoxian, and the others were still in the Master Realm and find a chance to kill them, doesn't that mean everything will change? Ancestor Mingchu burst out laughing and said, Miao Miao, that's impossible. Everything is already set in stone. There's no way to change it. Xiang Yuan smiled faintly and said, Indeed, space-time is like a long river that keeps flowing forward. You can rush up from one section and return to the previous section, but you definitely won't be able to cut off this long river or change its direction. Chapter 2303. The first level refers to everything that will bring great changes to the future. For example, Qin Nan, if you go back to the ancient era, you will kill Tsang and Yi Zhaoxian in advance, or you will find Zhou Di and tell him something in advance. Besides, you will secretly set up a trap to deal with Tsang and Yi Zhao, immortal, and so on. None of these actions can be realized. The reason is that the rules of time and space will stop you when you do it. You won't be able to resist it regardless of your cultivation. Therefore, if you go back to the ancient era, don't even think about changing the future. It's impossible. Xiang Yuan finished in one breath. Princess Miao Miao curled her lips and said, What are you talking about? That's too boring. Xiang Yuan said with a smile, Actually, it's not like nothing can be changed. In the ancient era, a casual word or action from us could cause great waves and influence the later generations. For example, the second and third levels. The second level refers to everything that will bring changes to the future. The third level refers to everything that will bring changes to the future. Anything you say or do in the ancient era might trigger the second and third levels. When the time comes, the rules of time and space will stop you, but it won't be as strong as the first level. You can use your cultivation to break the rules of time and space with brute force to do what you want. However, there will be a price to pay. If you do 5 second-level things, you will trigger a tribulation of the heavens and earth. Could be a trap or something else. If you do 20 third-level things, you will also trigger a tribulation of the heavens and earth. Qin Nan gradually came to a realization. It was similar to defying the heavens and changing one's destiny. If one wanted to defy the heavens and change one's destiny, they would have to go through a lot of difficulties. That's all we know for now. For many years, the Sherdao tribe has been using this method to achieve the Heaven Highness realm. Even though the battlefield of God Aura has shown up, we still insist on it. It's because the current era is too weak. We can only go back to the past. Only in the ancient era can we become an undefeatable Heaven Highness. That's the only way to revitalize our Sherdao tribe. Little friend Qin Nan, what do you think? The smile on Xiang Yuan's face gradually faded. In addition to him, the other ruler of Dao of the Sherdao tribe, the masters of Dao, and the geniuses of their tribe were looking at Qin Nan. They had sacrificed too much blood and tears for the sake of the plan. If Qin Nan did not agree to their request, they would, Clan Chief Xiang, if your chances of success were a bit higher, then it might be possible. However, with only a 60% probability and an unrealistic speculation, The risk is too great. If we can't return to the correct time, we'll have to waste at least 2 years, or even 4 years. Moreover, for so many years, no one has ever relied on this method to reach the Empyrean realm. Don't tell me you don't know the current situation? In 2 years, Song will definitely become an Empyrean. If he falls behind Song then. Heaven Highness Ling Huang was the first to speak. However, before he could finish, Qin Nan said, Senior Ling Huang, I've made up my mind. I'll return to the ancient era. As soon as these words were spoken, the spirits of Xiang Yuan and the others were refreshed, and they said, Really? Heaven Highness Ling Huang was startled. He said in a panic, Qin Nan, this isn't a joke. If we don't win the bet, everything will be in vain. Qin Nan rose to his feet. He looked at Heaven Highness Ling Huang and the others and said sternly, Seniors, we don't have any other choice under the circumstances. We might be able to enter the intermediate profound realm in the Blue Dome in 2 years and achieve the Heaven Highness realm in the battlefield of Divine Aura, but we won't be able to defeat Song and Yi Zhaoxian. We can only guarantee our safety for now, but when Song and Yi Zhaoxian grow stronger and become Supreme Highnesses again, how are we going to stop them? Qin Nan's eyes flickered sharply as he said, Seniors, it was a gamble to form an alliance with me. Now we have no choice but to bet again. The winner is the king, the loser is the bandit. The last few words were firm. Bet again? Heaven Highness Ling Huang, Minchu Progenitor, and the others were startled. You're right. Oh Ling Huang, if our young friend Qin Nan is so fearless, why should we, as his seniors, be afraid of him? Minchu Progenitor said with a smile. Phew. Heaven Highness Ling Huang let out a sigh and said, I won't say any more. It's all up to you. Qin Nan bowed at them again. Heaven Highness Ling Huang and the others had led the 3 Supreme Taoism factions to form an alliance with him, yet they had yet to receive any benefits from it. Despite the circumstances, they were still willing to help him wholeheartedly. They were truly helping him. It did not matter if they were left with no choice, or if there were other reasons, it was still a great favor for Qin Nan. Seniors, did you see that too? Qin Nan turned around and smiled. Ha, great, great! From today onward, the Sherdao tribe will join your alliance. We will give you everything we have. Xiang Yuan burst out laughing. His face was glowing as he looked energetic. The people of the Sherdao tribe were overjoyed too. They let out relieved sighs. However, young Qin Nan, there's something you have to decide. Xiang Yuan said, I already told you that the stones of time and space can only support 4 people to return to the ancient era. The Sherdao tribe will take 2 spots. Is there anyone on your side who's willing to go? Before Qin Nan and the others could say anything, the ruler of Sherdao tribe was startled. Brother, why do you want to return to the ancient era too? You're seriously injured. You'll need at least 3 years to recover. Otherwise you... Xiang Yuan flung his sleeve and yelled before he could finish. Why would I need to rest for 3 years? You just need to rest for 7 days to recover half of your life force. Chapter 2304. The ruler of Dao and the others of the Sherdao tribe had complicated feelings. They wanted to say something, but they could not find any words. Qin Nan was touched too. He brought his fists together and said, Senior's will is admirable. Xiang Yuan waved his hand and said, It's nothing but your side, I'll go. 3 voices blurted out simultaneously. They were Princess Miao Miao, Jiang Bailan, and Xue Mengyao. Hey, Xiao Lanlan, Sister Yao Yao, why are you arguing with me? Just let me go with Xiao Nanzi. Princess Miao Miao blurted out. Princess, as the first wife, you should stay and help your husband with the alliance. How can you do something so dangerous? Let me go instead. Jiang Bailan shook her head with a smile. Princess Xiao Lanlan, don't overthink it. The flowers of eternity in your bodies can only unleash their full potential when they are together. Besides, I'm the lowest in the clan, so I should go with you. Shui Mengyao said with a smile. Humph, since you keep saying I'm the first wife, you should listen to me. Princess Miao Miao began to use her unreasonable move. Princess, that might be the case, but there was no way Jiang Bailan and Shui Mengyao would give up so easily. Qin Nan immediately felt a headache. He quickly said, Princess Lan Lan Mengyao, let's not argue about it. The journey is full of uncertainties. Don't go. The three women blurted out at the same time, No way. Princess Miao Miao glared at him and said in an unpleasant tone, If you're allowed to go, why can't we? Qin Nan was left speechless for a moment, as he began to rack his brains. How could he stop them from having any thoughts under the circumstances? Ancestor Mingchu stepped forward and said with a smile, Stop arguing. It's not a good idea to let any of you go. Let me go on this trip. It just so happens that I also want to see how glorious the ancient era was. Princess Miao Miao and the other two furrowed their brows. Just as they were about to speak, they heard Ancestor Mingchu continue, Furthermore, the pressure on Qin Nan this time is not small. If you guys go, he will definitely be worried and have many misgivings. At that time, no matter what he does, he will be wary of taking action. How will he break through to the Empyrean realm then? Princess Miao Miao and the others frowned even more. In the end, the former gritted her teeth and said, All right, then we won't go. Jiang Bailan and Shui Mengyao nodded in agreement. However, Qin Nan, you must promise me that you must come back. Don't forget about me, Xiao Lanlan, Sister Feiyue, Sister Mengyao, and the two little bastards waiting for you in the primary upper realm. Princess Miao Miao transmitted her voice, her eyes slightly red. Qin Nan's heart ached slightly. He nodded heavily and said, Don't worry, I'll definitely come back. Princess Miao Miao harumphed. She lifted her chin and said, Then don't you worry, Xiao Lanlan, Sister Mengyao, and I will surely achieve the Heaven Highness realm in 2 years' time and take good care of the alliance. In the future, if we manage to defeat Song and the others, the three of us, oh no, Sister Feiyue will be the leader of the alliance too. As for you, you'll have to do some errands for us. Qin Nan smiled and said, All right, I'll be your subordinate. Heaven Highness Ling Huang and the others rose to their feet and said, Qin Nan, if that's the case, we won't waste any more time. We'll wait for your triumphant return in the undying Cycle Mountain. Qin Nan shook their hands and bid them farewell. A moment later, everyone left, leaving only Qin Nan and his crew. Qin Nan transmitted his voice to the red string of 3 lifetimes on his wrist. His gaze was a little complicated. Ji Jinzi's will should have dissipated by now. Empress Feiyue's will had woken up. Cultivator Qin Nan, come with me. Xiang Yuan took out a cane from his storage bag and tapped it forward. An illusionary water curtain appeared on the thick wall. Qin Nan calmed his thoughts and followed Xiang Yuan into the curtain. The scenery before him changed tremendously. In front of them was an island with a circumference of around 10,000 li. All kinds of formations were operating on it, releasing wisps of pure immortal intent onto the island. In addition to it, a few rare phenomena were taking place too. Qin Nan glanced around and saw more than 10 ancient lands, each containing a formidable force. Following it, Qin Nan saw the defying ancient altar floating on top of an immortal mountain. It was over 100 zhang tall and pitch black. The stones of time and space on it were flickering mysteriously. Cultivator Qin Nan, there's something else I have to tell you. Xiang Yuan came to a stop and said, Once our intent returns to the ancient era, if the person we possess is killed, our intent will vanish from the ancient era too. In other words, we will have fallen. However, if we return to the ancient era, we have a great advantage. Upon saying this, he took out 2 scrolls and handed them to Qin Nan and Qin Nan respectively, before he said with a smile, Although the ancient era was extremely brilliant, with countless geniuses appearing one after another, far surpassing us. However, we have been collecting information about Zhou Di, Song, Huang Fuju, and Yi Zhaoxian during their breakthroughs from the Master Realm to the Supreme Highness Realm over the past few thousand years. For example, when a forbidden land was opened, who obtained the treasures there, who managed to alter their destinies, what kind of arts of Tao seeking the Heaven Highnesses practiced, their weaknesses, and so on. Qin Nan and Mingchu's eyes glittered upon hearing this. If they could return to the ancient era, didn't that mean they could rely on the information to obtain all kinds of benefits and resolve all kinds of dangers? Of course, the great battle in the ancient era has led to the disappearance of many secrets. We can't find much information about it, Xiang Yuan said. You will memorize the information on the scrolls for a few days. Hushing and I will go to the other side to recover my life force. We will activate the Defying Ancient altar in 7 days. Qin Nan was about to nod when a calm voice echoed in his body. Patriarch Xiang, let Qin Nan and Mingchu go with you to the place to recover. You can multitask, so I don't have to transmit my voice to you. Xiang Yuan and Xiang Hushing were startled. Two rays of light burst out of Qin Nan's body as Zhou Xuandao and Cassiopeia appeared. Chapter 2305. A moment later, in an immortal pond, Xiang Yuan sat on it with his legs crossed. A great force was unleashing from his body. Xiang Hushing sat on the other side. He kept performing hand seals to guide wisps of energy from the heavens and earth into Xiang Yuan's body. Although the two of them were still recovering, there was still a smile on their faces. They had to admit that they had forgotten something important as they were too focused on teaming up with Qin Nan. It was the undying cycle mountain and the ownerless heaven pattern in Qin Nan's body. The weapon spirits of the two artifacts had risen together with Zhou Di. They had gone through a lot together. In terms of understanding of the ancient era, apart from Song and Yi Zhaoxian, they were the only ones who were familiar with it. Now that he had their help, if he could return to the past. My master, I'll start with the structure of the world. The structure of the ancient era is completely different than it is now. When you were still in the master realm in your past life, the ancient tribes in the 9 heavens immortal realm were extremely powerful, especially the tribes ranked in the top 100. Almost every one of them had a heaven highness. The top 10 tribes like the Sherdao tribe and the tribe of immortal spirits even had a few heaven highnesses. On top of that, the supreme Taoism factions didn't exist back then. They were heaven highness factions. As the name suggests, a heaven highness faction would at least have a heaven highness realm expert. There were 10 heaven highness factions in total. Each of them dominated a region and recruited many talent. The 7 Heaven Highness clans used to be the 8 Heaven Highness clans back then. They were still a little weak compared to the Heaven Highness factions and the ancient tribes. On top of that, there were all kinds of factions in the small immortal realms. The ones that attracted the most attention were the 4 factions, 1 sect, 1 religion, and 1 sacred ground. Their patriarchs, and sacred leaders were all Heaven Highness realm authorities. They recruited lots of disciples too. However, after the great battle they disappeared. They went into hiding. Cassiopeia and Zhou Xuandao sat in front of him with their legs crossed. Qin Nan and ancestor Mingchu listened with rapt attention. In the year 1985 of the sacred sky calendar, you achieved the master realm in your past life. In less than a month, a forbidden area known as the Life Tao appeared in the 10th small immortal realm. The forbidden area had always been ordinary, yet no one thought a master of Tao with the surname Lin would find it. With the help of a mysterious bead, his cultivation soared, and he became a celestial venerable before you. In the 2000th year of the Saint Heaven calendar, a heaven highness called Dragon Island in the 5th forbidden area suddenly issued a reward. He would help anyone who could find an ancient map 3 times. This ancient diagram was called the Square Dragon Diagram. It's actually in the treasure vault of the Red Dragon City's mayor's mansion. In the 2001 year of the Saint Sky calendar, a great war broke out between two heavenly venerate orthodoxies. Who would have thought that the weak Huntian would be able to destroy Sword Curve in one go? Then, Cassiopeia and Zhou Xuandao began to tell Qin Nan everything they knew since the year 1985, regardless of whether it was useful or not. Qin Nan and the others listened in silence. It felt like they were immersed in the long river of history. They were watching the rise and fall of different people like a bystander. Many things blossomed like flowers. Time gradually passed. 5 days were gone in the blink of an eye. Cassiopeia and Zhou Xuandao did not stop talking. The things they mentioned were extremely precious in the current era. If the news was made public, the 9 heavens immortal realm would be in a great uproar. All kinds of mysteries, all kinds of beginnings and endings, would be easily solved. It was also the reason why Qin Nan was able to learn more about Zhou Di, Huang Fuju, Tsang, and Yi Zhaoxian for the first time. The hardships, storms, setbacks, and tribulations they had gone through before they achieved the Supreme Highness realm were beyond Qin Nan's imagination. My master, if you really did return to that era, there's something you should pay attention to. Back then, in the northernmost area of the first immortal realm, there was a supreme godly object called the Heaven-Level Ranking. Like the undying Cycle Mountain, this object is formed from a portion of the original origin energy. It possesses boundless divine might. The Heaven-Level Ranking had its own spirit. It was determined to bring the martial path of the primary upper realm to greater height. Therefore, every cultivator in the ruler realm was allowed to take part in the trial of the Heaven-Level Ranking. The ranking would change according to their cultivation, achievements, and the number of quests they completed. Meanwhile, if someone managed to stay in the top 100 for 2 months, the Heaven-Level Ranking would give them different benefits according to their ranking. Many ruler realm experts relied on the fortunate encounters provided by the Heaven-Level Ranking to break through the bottleneck and enter the Heaven Highness battlefield. They were able to ascend to the Heaven Highness realm as soon as they achieved the Tao. On top of that, Zhou Di, Tsang, Yi Zhaoxian, and Huang Fuju were tied for first place on the Heaven-Level Ranking for a year after they achieved the Heaven Highness realm. After that, the 4 of them entered the Heaven-Level Ranking and cultivated for a month. This month can be said to be extraordinary. Chapter 2306. 3 days later, Zhou Xuandao and Cassiopeia finally finished telling them everything they knew from the 1985th to the 2230th year of the Sacred Heaven calendar. Thank you, seniors. With what you've told me, I'm sure we'll achieve great things if we succeed. Xiang Yuan rose to his feet and bowed. He had been multitasking for the past few days. His injuries had recovered significantly, allowing him to feel energetic. Cultivator Qin Nan, everything is ready now. Let's get started. You will sit at the center of the altar. When the altar is activated, unleash all the power in your body. Xiang Yuan was so excited that he sped up his speech. Got it. Qin Nan went to the center of the altar and sat with his legs crossed. Xiang Yuan, Xiang Husheng, and the old ancestor of Mingchu each stood at the 3 corners. The ultimate of time and space, tracing back to the primordial era. The art of everything, follow your will. Xiang Yuan and the others performed a hand seal simultaneously. Their voices were thunderous. The altar began to tremble as a tremendous aura soared into the sky. Each of the stones of time and space emitted rays of godly light, unleashing wisps of invisible auras that swept across the entire island at a shocking pace. The island began to shake too. In addition to it, the lands of treasure and other places seemed to be attracted by a terrifying force. The pure immortal intents turned into ancient dragons surging toward the altar. It was an astonishing sight. Qin Nan quickly unleashed the power in his body upon seeing this. What was even more miraculous was that his aura instantly merged with the defying ancient altar, becoming one. Qin Nan, Cassiopeia and I won't be able to stay by your side. You won't be able to use the undying cycle mountain and the ownerless heaven pattern. You can only rely on yourself. Zhou Xuandao said. I understand. Seniors, don't worry, I'll return in triumph. It felt like an invisible flame was ignited in Qin Nan's eyes. By the way, seniors, I've transmitted my voice to the Empress 8 days ago, but she still hasn't responded. Ask Senior Ling Huang and the others to transmit their thoughts to her too, so they can learn more about her situation. Qin Nan said. Got it. At this moment, the entire sky above the island had turned into a huge mass of chaos. It was spinning at an astonishing speed, like the mouth of an abyss that was about to swallow everything. Bang! About 100 breaths later, an incomparably terrifying power erupted from the entire defying ancient altar and rushed straight into the chaos. An indescribable great mystery surged in all directions. Qin Nan's hair drifted in the wind. The light in his eyes became incomparably sharp. Song Yi Zhaoxian, just you wait. Whoosh! A storm swept up, and the entire island fell into an unprecedented great shock. Saint Sky Calendar, Year 2000. The primary upper realm, the 9 heavens immortal realm, the 5th small immortal realm. The 5th small immortal realm had many ancient forbidden grounds and all kinds of successions. Every year, many cultivators would alter their destinies and rise to power. Therefore, every year, countless rogue cultivators and even disciples of formidable factions would be attracted to the 5th small immortal realm to search for the fortunate encounters. There were strong and weak forbidden grounds. Powerful forbidden grounds would attract countless cultivators, while ordinary forbidden grounds were the opposite. The Great Ruo Valley was an ordinary forbidden ground. Every time it was opened, it would attract less than 1,000 cultivators. The strongest among them was only a heaven immortal. However, the Great Ruo Valley was different today. 3 auras of the Master Realm had just burst out from its depths and clashed with one another. The clash lasted for 3 hours before one of the auras gradually weakened and returned to silence. This kid's combat power is pretty strong. He's not much weaker than an extraordinary lord. A voice filled with vigor rang out. Yeah, after all, he has obtained the succession of a Heaven Highness. If he fully comprehends the succession in a year or 2, he will surely achieve the extraordinary Master Realm and achieve the Ruler Realm, a pleasant voice said. One of the 2 people who spoke was a tall middle-aged man whose body was covered with various patterns, and the other was a woman with an enchanting figure who wore a long pink dress. They were both in the Peak Master Realm. Not far behind them was a short-haired young man covered in blood. He was lying on the ground without any sign of life. Sigh, it's the succession of a Heaven Highness. Junior sister, do you think we should? The middle-aged man looked at the ring in his hand with a greedy look. Senior brother, you better give up on the thought. The Alliance leader won't forgive you if he knows you're interested in it. The seductive woman said coldly, From what I know, it's a request from an authority in Sword Curve. Even the Alliance leader can't afford to offend him. The middle-aged man shrugged and said, Junior sister, am I that kind of person? I'm just saying. That's right, your news is Linglong. There has been a rumor in the Alliance recently that the Alliance Master is going to support that person called Song. Is it true? The seductive woman nodded and said, It's true. The middle-aged man's eyes glittered. I didn't think the Alliance leader would be able to find Song. I heard that the Heaven Highness orthodoxies, ancient tribes, and formidable factions have all offered him an olive branch, but he has rejected them all. The seductive woman said, It's normal for him to reject them. Song, Zhou Di, Huang Fuju, and Yi Zhaoxian are ranked in the top 50 of the Heaven Terminus ranking as soon as they achieved the Ruler Realm. It's something that has never happened before. They will surely reach the heavens when the next Heaven Highness battlefield is activated. It's too honorable. People like Tsang won't be willing to submit to others. They will surely establish their own factions. Our alliance leader is supporting Tsang because he's treating him as an equal. The middle-aged man was startled. Equal? No matter what, our alliance head is also an Empyrean big shot. It doesn't matter how talented Tsang is, he shouldn't. The seductive woman shook her head and interrupted. All right, let's not talk about it. We have no idea what our alliance leader is thinking. Let's leave at once. The two suddenly came to a stop as they were about to leave. Chapter 2307. Did I return to the ancient era? Qin Nan's will gradually awaken from its chaotic state. He felt it almost instantaneously. His will now occupied a completely unfamiliar body. On top of it, the body was severely injured. Its life force was extremely weak. Bang! At that instant, it was as if a shocking clap of thunder had taken place in his divine sense. Countless images flashed across his mind like a tide. It's real. Qin Nan was overjoyed. The previous owner of the body was called Lin Xiaoji. He was an inner disciple of the Sword Melody Orthodoxy, one of the 10 Heaven Highness orthodoxies in the 5th small immortal realm. He had successfully achieved the Master Realm 10 years ago. According to his memory, it was currently the Ancient Era, the 2000th year of the Sacred Heaven Calendar. Tsang, Zhou Di, Huang Fuju, and Yi Zhaoxian, the 4 Supreme Highnesses, had only achieved the ruler realm less than 4 years ago. It was the era that Xiang Yuan, Xiang Husheng, and the others had been dreaming of. TSK, I didn't expect you to have mastered such an art. It's able to make you temporarily lose your life force and enter a state of suspended animation. If we had left earlier, you would have been able to fool us. A cold and gloomy voice sounded. A tremendous aura burst out from the middle-aged man and the woman, causing the entire valley to tremble vigorously. Murderous intent? Qin Nan finally realized that there were other people here. He quickly calmed his mind and lifted his head to look ahead. When he saw the faces of these two people, his body trembled slightly. Another memory and a shocking resentment rushed into his sea of consciousness. Qin Nan's eyes immediately turned cold. The previous owner of the body, Lin Xiaoji, was one of the strongest among the inner disciples of the Sword Melody Orthodoxy. He even found the succession of a Heaven Highness in a forbidden place. If there were no accidents, Lin Xiaoji would be able to grasp his extraordinary abilities and step into the ruler realm as soon as possible, becoming a true disciple of Sword Curve. Alas, Lin Xiaoji's most beloved woman, an inner disciple of Sword Curve, betrayed him and colluded with Huangfu Shaoqi, a direct disciple of Sword Curve. Lin Xiaoji was originally heartbroken, but unexpectedly, Zhang Yu'er transmitted a message to him, inviting him to come to Derua Valley for a chat. Derua Valley was the place where the two of them first met. Lin Xiaoji originally thought that there was still a chance for things to take a turn for the better, so he gladly went over. In the end, who would have thought that he would completely lose his life? Zhang Yu'er and Huangfu Shaoqi had hired 2 assassins from an alliance called Dark Sand, which was the 2 people in front of him. They had besieged and killed him. What they were after was the Empyrean inheritance he had obtained. You were full of true feelings, but in the end you got such an ending. You are also a pitiful person. However, since you've met me, I'll settle this matter with you. Qin Nan muttered to himself. What are you talking about? The middle-aged man said mockingly. Are you out of your mind? The woman said, Senior brother, let's not waste our time talking to him. Let's end him together. We have to take his head this time, so he won't trick us again. Got it, junior sister. Following this, the figures of the middle-aged man and the seductive woman dashed toward Qin Nan, leaving 2 blurry shadows behind. The 2 master arts unleashed tremendous power at the same time. As assassins, they were usually like ghosts when dealing with cultivators, and they would do so in the dark. The biggest taboo was to fight a cultivator head-on. However, Lin Xiaoji was an exception. The reason being that they knew the flaws of Lin Xiaoji's master arts and martial arts. Otherwise, they would not have been able to kill Lin Xiaoji so easily in the beginning. Qin Nan's expression remained the same after seeing this. Instead of backing off, he moved forward and unleashed the force in his body as he threw a punch toward the two. Impenetrable sacred art. Qin Nan's lips twisted when he realized something just as the two were about to collide. He had forgotten something important. His mind had returned to the ancient era, but his flesh was still in the 9 heavens immortal realm. His impenetrable sacred flesh, art of the immortal demon, Tao pattern, heaven-shattering saber, etc. were all gone. Art of Taiyin. However, Qin Nan was a ruler of Tao who had been through countless battles. He quickly reacted and performed a hand seal with a single hand. Bang! Following a huge blast, strong gusts of wind surged in all directions. Qin Nan could only feel his chest being struck by a sledgehammer, causing the qi and blood in his body to turn restless. His figure was knocked backward uncontrollably, taking a few hundred steps backward before coming to a stop. His flesh was already severely injured. Even though it had mostly recovered after being occupied by Qin Nan's mind, it was in great danger again after receiving such a huge blow. Haha, he still dares to fight us head-on. The middle-aged man burst out laughing. His eyes were filled with disdain. It seemed like the guy had lost his mind after being beaten up by them. Die! The middle-aged man and the seductive woman each summoned a saber and a sword, activating an ancient master art. Instantly, the entire valley was filled with the wails of countless ghosts and gods, and a sinister aura filled the air. Lin Xiaoji's weakness was that any demon-related art could inflict great damage to him. Well, I'm not used to this. Qin Nan murmured as he grabbed at the rift with his right hand. An illusory long saber materialized in the air. Following this, he fully unleashed his will, which turned into a brilliant ray of light soaring into the sky and suppressing the demons and deities. Even though he no longer had the impenetrable sacred flesh and the others, his will was still incredibly powerful. At least, it was enough to take on the two guys. Is that the power of his will? The middle-aged man and the seductive woman were startled. They blurted out, "Impossible! How can you have such a powerful will, you?" Before they could finish, an icy cold voice sounded. Heart-slashing. Whoosh! The entire valley was illuminated in a blood-red color. A shocking feeling of danger exploded in the hearts of the middle-aged man and the enchanting woman. They practically didn't hesitate to execute their various trump cards. However, it was too late. Chapter 2308. Art of Yin Transformation, Transformation of Body into 10,000 Elements. The middle-aged man and the enchanting woman were people who had experienced countless battles. Soon, in this desperate situation, they used a forbidden art of the alliance. Countless cracks appeared on their bodies, and they were about to shatter and disappear into nothingness. Crimson Emperor's Saber Art. Qin Nan dashed forward and unleashed thousands of fiery saber intents. They turned into boundless flames looming over the cultivators. However, the strange thing was that these flames had no effect on their bodies at all. They could not stop them at all. The cultivators of the ancient era are no ordinary cultivators indeed. Qin Nan's eyes flickered. He executed the sky-stride blow and arrived above the cultivators just as they were about to disappear. He shoved his hand downward. The power of rules! Bang! A mystical ripple surged forward. Didn't you, the middle-aged man and the enchanting woman suddenly realized something? However, before they could finish their words, they were completely crushed into pieces. The majestic aura caused the entire valley to shake violently. Phew! Qin Nan let out a relieved sigh upon seeing this. The damage to his flesh was too great. He had almost depleted everything in his body when he forcibly used the power of rules. Qin Nan suddenly saw a ring in a huge pit. Qin Nan immediately realized that the ring was the succession of a heaven highness that Lin Xiaoji had obtained. It was also the culprit behind everything that had happened. The Qiankuan blood heart ring, the natal artifact of heaven highness Qiankuan. The ancient era is indeed extraordinary. It's not rare to find the succession of a heaven highness. If it was in our era, Qin Nan exclaimed. He put the ring away and sat on the ground to absorb the immortal intent between the heavens and earth. The immortal intent in every inch of the fifth small immortal realm is 10 times stronger than it was in the future. The barrier of the space is a few times stronger too. The thought crossed Qin Nan's mind. About an hour later, he opened his eyes. The main force in his body had recovered by 40%. Transfer seal technique. Qin Nan quickly formed a seal, and an invisible wave immediately spread out in all directions. This technique was taught to him by Xiang Yuan before he activated the ancient defying altar. This was because when their minds returned to the ancient era, they would not appear in this place. After using this technique, they would be able to sense each other and recognize each other. This is not a good place to stay, Qin Nan thought to himself as he flew into the void. About 6 hours later, he entered an ancient mountain range. After a careful search, he found an excellent hiding place and set up many restrictions. Qin Nan sat cross-legged. While recovering from his injuries, he formed a seal with both hands. He was not in luck this time. The previous owner of the body practiced an art of Tao seeking called the Heart Sword Scriptures. Many of his master arts and Tao arts were related to sword. Even though Qin Nan could easily convert them into saber arts with his martial talent, it was still a waste of time. Qin Nan was currently cultivating the art of the immortal demon. It was a pity that his impenetrable sacred body was gone, and he could not continue to cultivate it. Time gradually passed. A month was gone in the blink of an eye. Qin Nan's injuries had fully recovered during this period. He had also mastered the first half of the art of the immortal demon. He could now summon the realm of the immortal demon and execute the rules of the immortal demon. On top of it, Qin Nan also practiced the Battle Tao ceremony, the true scriptures of Sky Taihuang, and other arts of Tao seeking that he had learned in the past to refine the Tao pattern in his body. Qin Nan's strength was a lot stronger than the previous owner of the body, Lin Xiaoji. However, it was still a few times weaker than when Qin Nan was in the peak master realm. It's the 2000th year of the Xingtian calendar. 39 interesting things happened in the past year. One of them is a heaven highness of the Dragon Island. He has placed a bounty on the 5th small immortal realm. Qin Nan's eyes glittered after pondering for a moment. The heaven highness of the Dragon Island was willing to offer shocking benefits. As long as anyone could find the square dragon diagram, he would help that person 3 times. The fortunate encounter was extremely beneficial to Qin Nan for now. After all, Qin Nan's cultivation was still too weak. He still had enemies in the form of Zhang Yue and Huangfu Shaoqi. He even killed 2 of Dark Liuxia's men in the Master Realm. They would not let him go easily. Besides, the ancient era was different from the modern era. The current 2000th year of the sacred sky calendar was the most glorious era. Numerous heavenly venerates were emerging, and rulers were everywhere. If the heaven highness of the Dragon Island helped him, he would have 3 life-saving talismans. It's almost a month until the heaven highness of the Dragon Island placed a bounty on me. I should take a look at the succession of the heaven highness first. Qin Nan murmured. He reached into the Qiankuan blood ring with his divine sense. Bang! A shocking aura exploded in Qin Nan's divine sense like a bolt of lightning. An ancient voice echoed as if it had traveled across time. I am heaven highness of the Qiankuan blood ring. I have left a copy of my sword art here. If anyone can master the sword art and master it, they will be able to activate the Qianquan blood ring and become my successor. As soon as he said those words, an image surfaced in his mind. Among them, a white-robed figure with a blurry face was holding an ancient immortal sword in his hand. His figure was flickering. In the beginning, every sword strike was extremely slow. However, towards the end, its speed became faster and faster. In the end, it reached an extremely terrifying level. Even with Qin Nan's cultivation, he was struggling to keep up with the pace. Such a terrifying sword art! Qin Nan's eyes flickered with astonishment. It was only an illusionary image, yet the sword intent felt like it had materialized. It was a great impact to his soul. Qin Nan quickly calmed his thoughts and focused on the sword art. He had to admit that the sword art that a Heaven Highness had invented was not something that ordinary master arts or even Heaven Highness arts could compare to. Even with Qin Nan's talents, it took him 10 days to comprehend the sword art. Qin Nan replaced the sword with an ancient saber and began to modify the sword art. Chapter 2309. Let's see what's going on. Qin Nan calmed his thoughts and took out a jade badge from his storage bag. The badge was called the Immortal Gathering Badge. It was forged by the 10 Heaven Highness factions. Normally, all kinds of important news would be posted on it. The 10,000 Dao Immortal Badge was modeled after it. Qin Nan inspected the badge with his divine sense and found the location of the 5th small immortal realm. He soon saw a line of words written in bright red. Heaven Highness Long Rua has issued a reward. Anyone who can find the square dragon pattern will be rewarded 3 times if it's within his power. The reward will last for 10 years. Any cultivator is allowed to go to Dragon Elephant Island to accept the reward. If anyone finds the square dragon pattern, they just need to return to Dragon Elephant Island and hand the reward to the Heavenly Merit Palace. Heaven Highness Long Rua's will come in person. Qin Nan rose to his feet and flew into the rift without any further delay. Everyone in the 5th small immortal realm was startled by the reward. Many factions and cultivators immediately used all kinds of methods to find out more about the square dragon pattern. On top of it, even the factions and rogue cultivators in the other small immortal realms were attracted by it. The same thing happened in Red Dragon City. The restaurants and teahouses were bustling with noise. Many cultivators were chatting with one another. Even the city lord of Red Dragon City, who was in seclusion, had woken up and held an emergency meeting. As for Qin Nan, he was quite familiar with the 5th small immortal realm since he had obtained Lin Xiaoji's memories. It only took him a few hours to arrive at Red Dragon City. He paid a certain amount of immortal stones and entered the city. Qin Nan walked on the street. He nodded as he observed the scenery on both sides. Although Red Dragon City was transformed from an archaic Taoist instrument, every palace and every rock in the city formed a formation and restriction. They were also connected to the surrounding heaven and earth, making it impregnable. Even a ruler in the early stage would be able to resist a peak ruler realm cultivator for a few hours if the city was fully activated. A while later, Qin Nan slowly unleashed his divine sense and covered the entire city. Qin Nan quickly sensed that there were 5 sovereigns in the city. Among them, there were 3 people in the city lord's mansion. One of them was a high-level sovereign, while the other 2 were early-stage sovereigns. I'm afraid the person with the mastery of the sovereign realm is the city lord of Red Dragon City. Qin Nan thought to himself as he pondered. How was he going to obtain the square dragon diagram without them noticing? Robbing and stealing were definitely out of the question. Qin Nan had always disdained to do that. Then, got it. A thought emerged in Qin Nan's mind, and he immediately walked towards the city lord's mansion. Stop! On both sides of the majestic gate of the city lord's mansion, there were 2 guards in armor. When they saw Qin Nan approaching, they immediately shouted, "Who are you?" Qin Nan smilingly said, Sword Melody Orthodoxy, Inner Disciple Lin Xiaoji. I'm here to discuss something with the City Lord. I hope you can report it to me. Qin Nan flicked his finger. A badge floated in the air. The two guards immediately bowed and brought their fists together after taking a glance at it. We were too blind to recognize Senior. Please forgive us. We'll report it to the City Lord right away. One of them went in for a brief moment before he quickly returned with a gesture of invitation. Qin Nan nodded slightly and went inside. The City Lord's mansion covered an area with a circumference of 100 li. It was surrounded by mountains, rivers, forests, and more. The place was filled with the chirping of birds and the fragrance of flowers. It felt like an otherworldly paradise. However, Qin Nan could sense that every blade of grass and every tree here was connected to the formation of Red Dragon City. If anyone were to trespass, they would fall into a deadly trap. When Qin Nan arrived at the meeting hall, he saw a middle-aged man in a red cloak sitting at the head of the table. His face was covered in scars. On his left and right were two white-haired elders and a young man in a black robe. Haha, fellow cultivator Lin, welcome to Red Dragon City. The Red Dragon Mayor stood up and let out a hearty laugh, which made people feel refreshed. Greetings, Red Dragon City Lord and Deputy City Lords. I'm Lin Xiaoji. I hope you don't mind my uninvited visit. Qin Nan cupped his fists and smiled. What are you talking about? As an inner disciple of Sword Curve, it's my honor that you're willing to come here. The Red Dragon City Lord quickly waved his hand. You're right, fellow cultivator Lin. There's no need to be so polite. However, there's one thing I don't understand. Why did you come to Red Dragon City? The white-haired old man asked. The eyes of the Red Dragon City Lord and the young man in a black robe flickered with confusion too. In the fifth small immortal realm, an outer disciple of the swordsmanship faction had quite a high status, let alone Lin Xiaoji, an inner disciple who had achieved the peak master realm. She was not far away from becoming a core disciple. Red Dragon City had always been below average in the fifth small immortal realm. People like Lin Xiaoji would not visit them, let alone have a talk with them. Qin Nan said with a calm smile, I won't lie to you three, I happened to find a Heaven Highness artifact a while ago. According to its reaction, there is something in the City Lord's mansion's treasure vault that is related to it. The Red Dragon City Lord and the others were startled. A Heaven Highness artifact. However, the young man in a black robe did not show any reaction. He asked in confusion, It must be something extraordinary if it's related to a Heaven Highness artifact. With Cultivator Lin's capabilities, you can easily find some seniors in your faction and take it with force. Why would you? Qin Nan shook his head and said, You three are smart people. I won't be able to rob it with my own strength. If I tell the others in my faction, I'm afraid the Heaven Highness artifact in my hand and the thing in your treasure vault might not be mine. The three elders nodded in their hearts. Indeed, in the current celestial venerate orthodoxies, there were all kinds of scheming and killing that were not inferior to the outside world at all. In fact, it was even worse. Chapter 23:10. Qin Nan's expression remained the same as he said, City Lord Red Dragon, there's no need for that. If you attack me, you won't get the Heaven Highness things I have, or even the Heaven Highness things in the vault. You won't get any benefits from it. Besides, you must be wary of me. I wonder if I've reported my arrival to the Sword Melody sect. Besides, I'm not that easy to kill either. Following it, a shocking demonic aura burst out of Qin Nan's body. The whole hall began to shake vigorously. Not only that, but an incomparably mysterious shadow of a demonic world slowly rotated behind him, and an invisible wave of energy rippled out. The power of rules? The pupils of the Red Dragon City Master and the other two shrank simultaneously. It was rare for a peak master of Tao to use the power of rules, yet many exceptional geniuses in the Nine Heavens immortal realm were able to do it. However, the ripple of rules Qin Nan was emitting was nothing ordinary. It significantly surpassed the strength of an ordinary ruler of Tao in the early stage. Ha ha, the Sword Melody sect is indeed full of hidden talents. I didn't expect you to have learned such a demonic art at such a young age. I'm impressed. Red Dragon City's lord burst out laughing. His murderous intent dissipated as he said, "Young cultivator, I'm a straightforward person. I won't waste any more time. What are you going to give us in return for the thing you want?" Qin Nan raised a finger and said, "Half of the sword art that the Heaven Highness Realm Master invented." Red Dragon City's lord and the others exchanged glances with one another. The former waved his hand and said, "Young cultivator, we're being sincere to you, but you're not being sincere enough. Why would you only give us half of the art in return? You should at least give us the complete Heaven Highness sword art." Qin Nan shook his head and said, "It's not that I don't want to teach you the art, but I've already sworn that I won't teach it to anyone else. Half of it is my limit. If you can't accept it, I don't have any other choice. Farewell." Qin Nan rose to his feet and brought his fists together before leaving. Straightforward, neat, and without deviating from the essence. "Wait." Red Dragon City's lord stopped him in less than a breath's time. "Young friend, it seems that you've already figured out our bottom line before coming here. So be it half," Red Dragon City's lord said with a sigh. He was in a good mood despite his reaction. Half of the sword art that the Heaven Highness Realm Master invented was. However, when they learned that Qin Nan had taken the four-sided dragon pattern from them, they felt like their chests were being struck by a hammer. It took them a whole year to recover from it, as it almost turned into a demon in their hearts. "Let's work together." Qin Nan turned around and smiled. Soon, both sides made an oath. The Red Dragon City Lord did not hesitate to bring Qin Nan to the treasure vault instead of coming up with an excuse. Generally speaking, for a force that was neither too big nor too small, the real treasures would only be kept in their own storage pouches. The items placed in the treasury would be very ordinary. However, Red Dragon City's Lord's vault was a little different. Not only was it well fortified, it was filled with many ancient Tao weapons, including a few half-Tao seeking weapons. Qin Nan was intrigued. "Red Dragon City's Lord, it's fate that brought us together. Why don't you give these 15 treasures to me? I don't think it's a big deal for Red Dragon City's Lord." Qin Nan casually pointed at the treasures. "Sure. If you're interested in anything else, feel free to take a little more. I just hope you won't forget about me when you achieve great success in the future." Red Dragon City's lord agreed without hesitation. Qin Nan took the 15 treasures including the square dragon pattern and taught them half of the Qiankuan sword art. He left Red Dragon City after a brief chat. His encounter with the three of them was merely a chance encounter. He would not have the chance to meet them again in the future. "It's time to head to Dragon Elephant Island." Qin Nan's figure disappeared into the rift. Dragon Elephant Island was quite a distance away from Red Dragon City. One was in the east, while the other was in the west. With his cultivation, it took him more than 10 hours to come out from the rift and come to a stop. So this is the place where the Heaven Highness stayed in the past? Qin Nan lifted his gaze. His eyes flickered with astonishment. He saw an enormous island in the shape of a dragon floating in the air in the distance. It was emitting all kinds of rare phenomena and a magnificent immortal intent. It was as if the island was one with the heavens and earth. If one stared at it for too long, they would hear the cries of dragons. They would also feel minuscule facing the heavens and earth. If the Heaven Highness's place is already so extraordinary, I can't help but wonder what the Sword Melody faction and the other factions are like? Qin Nan murmured. Unfortunately, Lin Xiaoji's fragmented memories did not mention anything about the Sword Melody faction. Otherwise, he might be able to learn more about it. Qin Nan soon calmed his thoughts and flew forward. When he approached the dragon's head, he noticed rays of light coming from all directions at a shocking pace. There were peerless rulers, 9 heavens supremes, masters of Tao, and many rulers of Tao too. Just at the entrance, there was already a hubbub of voices and a grand scene. According to the rules set by Heaven Highness Long Rua, the participants had to accept the reward before they could officially participate in the quest. As soon as the reward was announced, the cultivators nearby happened to make their way over. It was a great chance for them to gather more information. Qin Nan blended into the crowd and officially entered Dragon Elephant Island. There weren't many places on the island for foreign cultivators to move about. There were only about 100 main streets with immortal palaces lining the sides of the street. Looking further ahead, there were many majestic immortal mountains and many ancient rare phenomena. They were constantly evolving and shattering, causing one's heart to be filled with fascination. There was no telling how many ancient treasures there were on this island. Qin Nan glanced around and headed to the dojo at the center. Even though the place was crowded with experts and cultivators, Dragon Elephant Island had its own rules. No one was allowed to use violence on the island. Otherwise, they would be severely punished. As such, apart from the lively atmosphere, everything was in order. A moment later, the left side of the dojo was crowded with people. Chapter 23:11. Qin Nan glanced at the queue and pondered for a moment. He then went to the back of the queue. He was not in a rush. It was better for him to follow the rules one step at a time to avoid any unnecessary trouble. Around half an hour later, it was Qin Nan's turn. After paying the required amount of immortal stones and handing in his badge, Qin Nan was given a scroll made of beast hide. It was written with lines of ancient words and a drawing of a square dragon pattern. Qin Nan did not waste any time. He left the queue and headed to the Heavenly Merit Palace. At that instant, a surprised voice could be heard, "Lin Xiaoji." Qin Nan turned around and saw a woman in a blue dress not far away. Her skin was fair, her figure was prideful, and her temperament was quite ethereal. Beside the woman was a bulky young man in a purple robe with sharp brows and bright eyes. He had an extraordinary appearance. Qin Nan's figure shuddered as a fragmented memory surfaced in his mind. A strong sense of resentment continued to grow in his heart. Zhang Yuer? Huangfu Shaoqi? Qin Nan squinted. He did not expect there to be so many cultivators on Dragon Elephant Island. He did not expect to stumble into them under such circumstances. It seemed like they were quite fated to meet each other. "Lin Xiaoji, oh Lin Xiaoji, you really surprised me this time. I have a whole new level of respect for you. You managed to kill 2 of Underworld Quicksand's top B-ranked assassins with your cultivation." Huangfu Shaoqi glanced at Qin Nan and clicked his tongue. "Lin Xiaoji, we've indeed underestimated you, but for the sake of our past relationship, I'll give you a piece of advice. Hand over the ring." Zhang Yuer's eyes showed no sign of affection. She said coldly, "If that's the case, I'll ask senior brother Huangfu to spare your life. Otherwise, you won't be facing a B-ranked assassin, but an A-ranked assassin." Under normal circumstances, when threatening someone, if there were many people present, most people would choose to use voice transmission. However, under such circumstances, Zhang Yuer actually dared to say it out loud, attracting the attention of many cultivators in the surroundings. "That's Huangfu Shaoqi? I heard that Huangfu Shaoqi is not only a core disciple of the sword curve system, but his father is also the vice-patriarch of the system. He has achieved the Heaven Highness realm 30 years ago. No wonder this woman dares to threaten someone in public. These celestial orthodoxies really aren't easy to survive in. If you offend a big shot, you won't have any feelings for your fellow disciples. Only death awaits you." Many cultivators spoke and shook their heads. As expected, Huangfu Qi didn't care about the voices around him at all. Instead, he placed his hands behind his back and looked down at Qin Nan. He didn't hide the disdain in his eyes. Since you said that she wants to spare your lowly life, then there's naturally no problem. However, not only do you have to hand over the ring, you have to drop to your knees and give me 3 kowtows, and disappear from the 5th small immortal realm forever. Otherwise, bear the consequences yourself. Huang Fu Shaoqi said disdainfully. If it was someone else, he would definitely not deliberately humiliate them like this. However, when Lin Xiaoji found out about the matter between him and Zhang Yu that day, she actually left behind a ruthless sentence in front of everyone. Now that he had caught Lin Xiaoji alive, there was no way he would miss out on the opportunity. He was going to let Lin Xiaoji know how cruel the world was. You want me to kowtow to you? Qin Nan could not help but feel amused. It seemed like even though the ancient era was a lot more prosperous than the modern era, there were still people who abused their power to bully others. It was even possible that because the ancient era was more glorious, an early sovereign like Huang Fu Shaoqi was actually more arrogant and despotic than an early sovereign of the future. Piss off, I don't want to waste my time talking to you. Qin Nan waved his hand and turned his head away. He had no intention of taking another look at them. He would surely teach Huang Fu Shaoqi and Zhang Yu a lesson when he had the chance in the future. Did he just ask Huang Fu Shaoqi to piss off? Many cultivators were startled. They could sense that Qin Nan was only in the peak master realm. If Huang Fu Shaoqi and Zhang Yu dared to treat Qin Nan like that, it was obvious that Qin Nan was not someone important. Wasn't Qin Nan asking for his own death by saying something like that? Did you just ask me to piss off? Huang Fu Shaoqi's eyes widened. Zhang Yu was in disbelief too. Was he still the same person in her memory? Since when did Lin Xiaoji have the guts to do that? Very well, Lin Xiaoji, if you dare to talk to me like that, I'll kill you right now. Huang Fu Shaoqi said 3 times in a row. A shocking aura burst out of his body and shook the surroundings. Qin Nan halted in his tracks. His eyes instantly turned pitch black as a strong demonic intent burst out from them. Huang Fu Shaoqi withdrew his hand as a thought crossed his mind. He said with a hollow laugh, Lin Xiaoji, are you trying to provoke me with such a petty trick so that I'll break the rules of Dragon Elephant Island? Aren't you being too naive? That being said, if you dare to say that, I'll make sure you suffer once you leave Dragon Elephant Island. Zhang Yu said coldly, Lin Xiaoji, I was right about you. You're as childish and stupid as I thought. Qin Nan chuckled. He did not bother to say a single word this time. It would be a waste of his time to talk to them. It would only lower his status. Huang Fu Shaoqi's eyes were engulfed in flames. How dare this Lin Xiaoji disregard him? Brother Huang Fu, what's wrong with you? Who made you so angry? At that instant, a curious voice could be heard. A middle-aged man wearing a white robe with a 9-clawed golden dragon tattooed on his chest approached them from the distance. Behind the man were several figures wearing white robes, but the golden dragon tattooed on their chests only had 8 claws. Deacon Yi. Huang Fu Shaoqi glanced toward the voice and was overjoyed. How did he forget about him? I'm afraid he's in great trouble. Many cultivators thought to themselves when they saw this scene. Chapter 23:12. Judging from Huang Fu Shaoqi's reaction, it was obvious that he was close to Deacon Yi. Deacon Yi, you're just in time. Not only did he disrespect me, he even tried to attack me. How should I punish him according to the rules of Dragon Elephant Island? Huang Fu Shaoqi collected his thoughts and let out a hollow laugh. He immediately put the blame on Qin Nan. Many cultivators were left speechless. Qin Nan was only in the peak master realm, but Huang Fu Shaoqi had achieved the greater success stage of the ruler realm. There was no way he would dare to attack Huang Fu Shaoqi. However, that was the power of the people. There was no need for logic or reason. They just needed to come up with an excuse. Deacon Yi, as long as you can teach this brat a lesson and torture him, I'll introduce you to him. Huang Fu Shaoqi transmitted his thought. Deacon Ye's eyes glittered. He immediately came up with a plan. He looked at Qin Nan and harumphed coldly. You dare to stir up trouble on Dragon Elephant Island? How bold of you! According to the rules of Dragon Elephant Island, we'll have to lock you up for 3 days and teach you a lesson. At this point, he waved his hand and said, Men, take him away! The disciples behind him immediately swarmed forward. Qin Nan twisted his lips and said, Deacon Yi, aren't you being a little too careless in enforcing the law? He was the one who wanted to make a move on me, but you believed him just because he said it casually? Are you a deacon of Dragon Elephant Island or a deacon of swordplay orthodoxy? Huang Fu Shaoqi and Zhang Yu wore mocking grins upon hearing this. This Lin Xiaoji was simply too childish. Did it really matter who was in the wrong? Deacon Ye's eyes flickered with disdain as he said, I've been on Dragon Elephant Island for 100 years, and I've never been careless. If you don't admit it, I'll teach you a lesson. Deacon Yi looked around and pointed at a cultivator in the early stage of the Master Realm. Fellow cultivator, was that guy trying to attack Huang Fu Shaoqi? The Master of Dao was startled. He said without hesitation, That's right. Deacon Yi pointed at another 9 Heavens Supreme and asked the same question. The 9 Heavens Supreme gave the same answer too. Deacon, you're right. Deacon, this person is audacious to the extreme. If you hadn't arrived in time, then he would have surely made a move against fellow Daoist Huang Fu. Deacon Yi asked several cultivators in succession. Not only did they nod their heads to admit it, they even slandered Qin Nan. If some uninformed cultivators saw this, they would really think that Qin Nan was bold enough to openly violate the rules of Dragonesque Island. What a despicable method! Qin Nan shook his head inwardly. There was not a single ripple in his heart. The people Deacon Yi was asking were all masters of Tao and 9 Heavens Supremes. A cultivator of such a level would definitely not be willing to offend a deacon and Huang Fu Shaoqi for an unrelated person. Kid, you have nothing to say now, right? You're still trying to defend yourself in front of me. I was only supposed to lock you up for 3 days, but I'll have to lock you up for 6 days now. Deacon Yi said coldly. The disciples immediately unleashed their auras and surrounded Qin Nan. Qin Nan unleashed a tremendous demonic intent upon seeing this. He vanished into thin air and reappeared on the dojo in front of the Heavenly Merit Hall. His figure changed as he headed straight for the Heavenly Merit Hall. Trying to run away? Deacon Yi, I'll lend you a hand. Let's take him down. Huang Fu Shaoqi's eyes glittered. He immediately transmitted his thoughts and unleashed wisps of energy from his body. Ha ha ha, brother Huang Fu, that won't be necessary. Deacon Yi laughed and sent a voice transmission. The Heavenly Merit Palace Master has always had a very strange temper. No matter what the identity of the foreign cultivator is, as long as he dares to trespass, he will definitely personally deal with him and punish him. A light punishment is to cripple one of his hands, a heavy punishment is to break all 4 of his limbs. Huang Fu Shaoqi raised his brows. He withdrew the power of rules. If that was the case, he would just enjoy the show quietly. He's running to the Heavenly Merit Hall? When the surrounding cultivators saw this, they felt some pity for him, but that feeling was now gone. They could not help but admit that Qin Nan's decision was extremely stupid. If he followed Deacon Yi and the others, he would only be tortured for 6 days. However, Qin Nan had disobeyed the orders of the enforcers and trespassed into the Heavenly Merit Hall. If the Hall Master of the Heavenly Merit Hall was alerted, whoosh whoosh whoosh, in just 2 breaths' time, Qin Nan had arrived at the front of the Heavenly Merit Hall. The disciples behind him followed closely behind, resulting in a great uproar. How bold! How dare you cause trouble in front of the Heavenly Merit Hall! At that instant, a ferocious roar exploded between the heavens and earth like a thunderclap from the 9 heavens. A formidable aura burst out from the hall. In addition to that, 3 ancient rare phenomena appeared in the air, each containing a shocking force that was strong enough to kill an ordinary ruler realm expert in the early stage. Qin Nan and the disciples immediately halted in their track. At a time like this, if he were to act recklessly, the owner of the voice would unleash the three rare phenomena mercilessly. Hall Master, this man is stirring up trouble. We were just about to arrest him. However, we didn't expect him to run away and head to the Heavenly Merit Hall, which ended up disturbing the Hall Master. Deacon Yi immediately went up and brought his fists together. How dare you talk nonsense in front of me? This is what you get. Huang Fu Shaoqi uttered a hollow laugh in his heart. He could already foresee the scene where the Hall Master of the Heavenly Merit Hall was enraged and crippled Qin Nan's limbs. What do you have to say? The thunderous voice exploded once again. Almost every cultivator at the scene could hear the shocking fury in each of the words. Hall Master, Deacon Yi isn't telling the truth. I didn't come to the Heavenly Merit Hall to hide from them, but to hand in the four-sided dragon pattern. Qin Nan said calmly. He said, he's going to hand in the four-sided dragon pattern? At that instant, Deacon Yi, Huang Fu Shaoqi, Zhang Yuer, and most of the cultivators at the scene were stunned. They were wondering if they had heard it wrong. For a moment, the huge training hall fell into a strange silence. Ha ha, Lin Xiaoji, I think you're out of your mind. When Huang Fu Shaoqi collected his thoughts, he burst out laughing. Lin Xiaoji had the four-sided dragon pattern? That was impossible. It had only been less than 3 days since Heaven Highness Long Ruo had issued the reward. Chapter 23:13. Is he out of his mind? In my opinion, he must have been forced to hand over the square dragon pattern in a moment of desperation. Since no one has seen the square dragon pattern before, he can just hand over another ancient pattern to appease the Hall Master of the Heaven Merit Hall. That's not a bad idea, but unfortunately, he has no idea what kind of person the Hall Master of the Heaven Merit Hall is. Indeed, the Hall Master of the Heaven Merit Hall isn't a reasonable person. Not only will he not be appeased, he will be punished even more severely. Many of the cultivators in the surroundings blurted out. Many among them had a mocking look in their eyes. It was called being too smart for his own good? Zhang Yue rejoiced in her heart when she saw this. Luckily, she had realized in time and chose Huang Fu Shaoqi. Otherwise, her life would have been ruined by Lin Xiaoji. You're going to hand over the square dragon pattern? A figure appeared at the entrance of the Heaven Merit Hall. It was an old man with white hair. He had a cold expression and dark eyes. He was emitting an oppressive aura. The long robe he was wearing was a 10-clawed golden dragon. That's right. Qin Nan flicked his finger and took out the square dragon pattern. I've never seen the real square dragon pattern either. I can only test it with the thing that Senior Heaven Highness Long Ruo left behind. The Hall Master of the Heaven Merit Hall said expressionlessly. He took out a special dragon badge and inserted the power of rules into it. The dragon badge shuddered and unleashed wisps of golden dragon auras into the square dragon pattern. That being said, you've stirred up trouble in front of the Heaven Merit Hall. If it wasn't the square dragon pattern, not only would I break your limbs, I would also throw you into the 10,000 Dragons Mountain and let you suffer the torture of being bitten by the souls of 10,000 dragons. The Hall Master of the Heaven Merit Hall's eyes flickered coldly. The torture of being bitten by the souls of 10,000 dragons? Many of the cultivators inhaled deeply. It was a famous punishment on Dragon Elephant Island. Even rulers of Tao would suffer great pain if they were sent to the square dragon pattern, let alone masters of Tao. We shouldn't offend the Hall Master of the Heaven Merit Hall. Many cultivators murmured. Very well. Huang Fu Shaoqi was overjoyed. At that time, he would ask Deacon Yi to bring him over and let him personally witness Qin Nan being punished. 1. All of a sudden, Long Ling emitted a long cry, reverberating in all directions. The Heavenly Merit Hall Master and the cultivators were startled. This dragon badge actually had a reaction? Could it be, as if to confirm their thoughts, the entire dragon medallion suddenly erupted with golden light that shot into the sky? It caused the entire world to rumble, as if countless bolts of lightning were striking down. Roar! 4 dragon roars echoed in the ears of the cultivators. What happened? The cultivators far away were startled. They quickly raised their heads and looked into the distance. The sky above had turned pitch black. 4 illusionary figures of 11-clawed golden dragons over 10,000 zhang long were roaming in the sky, unleashing a tremendous aura. Is this really the square dragon diagram? The Heavenly Merit Hall Master's eyes flickered with astonishment and disbelief. Just like the rest of the cultivators, he initially thought the Master of Tao was only trying to fool him with a diagram to avoid being punished. How is this possible? Every cultivator was dumbfounded. Deacon Yi, Huangfu Shaoqi, and Zhang Yue stared with their eyes wide open. They stared at the diagram with blank faces as if they had lost their souls. Right at this moment, an even more shocking phenomenon appeared. The entire Dragon Elephant Island began to tremble slightly. An aura that seemed to originate from the heavens swept in all directions like a strong gust of wind. A magnificent figure over 99,999 zhang tall slowly appeared deep in the darkness. The 4 golden dragons that were constantly swimming around him immediately began to dance around him in an unparalleled manner. Greetings, Senior Heaven Highness Long Rua. The Heavenly Merit Hall Master was the first to react. He knelt on one knee facing the rift. So this is the Heaven Highness of the ancient era? Qin Nan raised his head and glanced at the scene. Just the will alone possessed such an overwhelming aura. As he thought, the Heaven Highness of the ancient era was no match for Heaven Highness Eternal Night. Heaven Highness Long Rua is here in person? Countless cultivators gasped at the sight. It seemed like the diagram that the Master of Tao had given them was indeed the square dragon diagram. How is this possible? How is this possible? Deacon Yi, Huangfu Shaoqi, and Zhang Yuer's faces turned pale as if they were struck by lightning. How did Lin Xiaoji manage to do so much in such a short time? Could he predict the future? Who would have thought that someone would find the square dragon diagram in just a few days after I issued the bounty? Who did it? The magnificent figure asked as he looked down at the dojo. Senior, he was the one who found the square dragon diagram. The Heavenly Merit Hall Master pointed at Qin Nan. A peak Master of Tao? The magnificent illusionary figure glanced at Qin Nan with a hint of astonishment in his eyes. He then asked, "Where did you find this map?" Qin Nan brought his fists together and said with a smile, "Senior, I bet you didn't expect that I found it in the treasury of the City Lord's mansion of Red Dragon City." As soon as he said this, many cultivators who had just regained their senses were stunned once again. The treasury of the City Lord's mansion of Red Dragon City. Why would such a precious artifact show up in a place like that? I didn't expect it to show up there. The mighty illusory figure sighed. He immediately waved his large hand and kept the 4-sided dragon diagram. After which, he said, "Young friend, since you have found the 4-sided dragon diagram, I will do as I said earlier. I will help you fight 3 times within my ability. Take this dragon badge. You can transmit your voice to me when you need it." A faint purple badge fell from the sky and landed in Qin Nan's hand. "Young cultivator, since you've found the square dragon diagram so quickly, I'll ask them to bring you to the land of sinking dragons. You can cultivate there for 30 days. I'll be leaving first." The magnificent figure was about to return to the rift. "Senior, please wait," Qin Nan said. "Is there anything else?" The magnificent figure asked. "Senior, I'm asking you to lend me a hand," Qin Nan said calmly. Threatening him? Pressuring him? Chapter 23:14. Are we going to do it now? All the cultivators present doubted if they had heard wrongly. It was a chance for a heaven venerate to make a move. In many critical moments, it was an existence that could completely save one's life. And now, Qin Nan was going to waste it? Even though Qin Nan was indeed bullied by Huangfu Shaoqi and the others, Qin Nan's identity had completely changed now that he had presented the square dragon pattern. Qin Nan only needed to inform the Patriarch of the Heavenly Merit Palace, and Huangfu Shaoqi and the others would not be able to bear the consequences. There was no need to waste such a precious opportunity. Qin Nan, what are you doing? I'm telling you, I'm a core disciple of the swordsmanship system, and my father is the Vice Patriarch. If you dare to do anything to me, my father will not forgive you. Huangfu Shaoqi's voice trembled for a moment before he shouted sternly. Young friend, are you sure? The magnificent figure glanced at them and said, If they have offended you, ask the patriarchs to take care of them for you. There's no need to waste a chance. Qin Nan's decision was beneficial to Long Ruo. It would save him a lot of trouble. However, he was quite fond of Qin Nan, so he advised him. Thank you for your kind advice, senior, but I've made up my mind. Qin Nan shook his head. Indeed, letting the dignified Emperor Long Ruo deal with these two people was completely not worth it. However, if he did not settle the matter now, there was no telling how long it would drag on in the future. Besides, if there were too many of such talismans, he would not feel threatened at all. All right, what do you want to do? The magnificent figure asked. Just kill the two of them. As for this one, senior, you can do as you see fit. Qin Nan pointed at Huangfu Shaoqi and Zhang Yue, and then at Deacon Yi. Qin Nan, you Huangfu Shaoqi, Zhang Yue, and Deacon Ye's eyes widened. All right. The stalwart shadow did not waste any time. With a flick of his finger, a ray of brilliant light instantly entered Deacon Ye's body. Deacon Ye's expression instantly turned ferocious as he uttered a series of cries of agony. His body was covered in countless wounds, causing blood to splatter in all directions. Under the watchful eyes of so many people, if Emperor Long Ruo directly killed his subordinates, it would definitely not be good. Therefore, he only heavily injured Deacon Yi. For the next 2 years, he would be in pain. It's your turn. The towering figure opened his hand and slapped down. Rumble! The space above Huangfu Shaoqi and Zhang Yue immediately shattered as a terrifying force poured down from it. Huangfu Shaoqi and Zhang Yue subconsciously circulated their cultivation techniques and released their powers to resist. However, in less than a breath's time, they were scattered by this force. Xiao Ji, I was wrong. Looking at our previous relationship, please spare me this time. The fear of death instantly overwhelmed Zhang Yue's mind. She immediately transmitted her voice to Qin Nan, but before she could finish, she was crushed into pieces by the tremendous force. When she betrayed Lin Xiaoji and tried to kill him, Qin Nan had never thought of letting her go. She would have to bear the consequences of her own decision. Lin Xiaoji Yu Huangfu Shaoqi's eyes flickered with fear. However, he was still a ruler in the greater success stage. He would not be killed so easily, nor would his mind collapse. Father, save me! When he felt that death was about to descend upon him, he let out a loud roar. Whoosh! In an instant, a majestic figure appeared behind him. That incomparably shocking oppressive aura swept out like a storm. The force that heavenly supremacy Long Ruo threw out was shattered into pieces too. That's heavenly supremacy Jianhe! Some cultivators exclaimed. The 9 heaven supremes and peerless rulers in particular trembled under the terrifying auras of the 2 heaven highnesses as if they had just suffered a great blow. Senior Long Ruo, may I know what my son has done to infuriate you so much that you have to kill him? Heavenly Supremacy Jianhe brought his fists together respectfully. There was a difference between the Heaven Highnesses too. Heavenly Supremacy Long Ruo was already a peak Heaven Highness over 100 years ago. He was ranked at the top of the Tianji ranking too. He was considered one of the top cultivators in the entire Nine Heavens immortal realm. Even though he was the vice patriarch of Sword Song system, there was still a huge difference between their status. You can ask the young man. Heavenly Supremacy Long Rua said calmly. Heavenly Supremacy Jianhe looked at Qin Nan with a startled expression. Father, he's Lin Xiaoji, an inner disciple of our sect. I was going to ask him to hand over the succession of a Heaven Highness, but he didn't listen to me. I couldn't help but teach him a lesson. To my surprise, he ended up finding the square dragon pattern. Huang Fu Shaoqi transmitted his voice. Heavenly Supremacy Jianhe glanced at him coldly. How could he not know what kind of person Huang Fu Shaoqi was? How was it as simple as teaching him a lesson? So it's young cultivator Lin. Heavenly Supremacy Jianhe said with a smile. Since we're both from the same sect, why do you have to go so far? I know that this unfilial son of mine has done terrible things to you before. Today, I'll apologize on his behalf. I'll surely punish him when we return. Besides, I'll suggest the Patriarch to promote young cultivator Lin to a core disciple and let him cultivate in the endless immortal song for a year. What do you think? Heavenly Supremacy Jianhe added. Of course, young cultivator Lin, don't you worry, we won't teach you a lesson when we return to the sect. Many people secretly nodded when they saw this scene. Heavenly Supremacy Jianhe's attitude was quite reasonable. It seemed like the crisis was coming to an end. But Qin Nan sneered coldly in his heart. Huang Fu Shaoqi did such a thing and he wanted to brush it off so easily? Young cultivator, in my opinion, why don't we stop here? Heavenly Supremacy Long Rua transmitted his voice. Senior, you don't dare to kill anymore? If that's the case, then forget it. Qin Nan said indifferently. Don't dare? What a joke. A mere son of Heavenly Supremacy Jianhe, I don't think much of him. Heavenly Supremacy Long Rua's domineering aura surged to the skies as he said, However, I'm thinking for you. If you offend Heavenly Supremacy Jianhe, your future path won't be easy. Chapter 23:15. The words were spoken in a calm tone, yet it was like a shocking clap of thunder. He's still going to kill him? The hearts of all the cultivators present shook violently. Father! Huang Fu Shaoqi's expression shifted greatly. He initially thought Lin Xiaoji would back off when his father's will showed up. However, he did not think Lin Xiaoji would disregard his father when he was only in the master realm. What did you say? Heavenly Venerate Jianhe's eyes were filled with rage. This Lin Xiaoji was too full of himself. He did not know how to appreciate his kindness at all. How dare he insist on attacking after he had already given his word? Did he really think he could do whatever he wanted just because Heaven Highness Longrua was willing to attack him 3 times? Cultivator Jianhe, if that's the case, I have no choice but to apologize. Heaven Highness Longrua said expressionlessly. His body emitted a brilliant golden glow. He waved his hand, turning the sky above the dojo into a mystical chaos. Several peerless swords flew out of the chaos and slashed at the dojo with tremendous auras. There's a way since ancient times, Long River Sword. Heaven Highness Jianhe was startled. He immediately executed his strongest move. Boundless ancient sword intense gathered into a great river surging upward. Bang bang bang! A series of deafening explosions kept ringing out. Even though Empyrean Long Rua and Empyrean Jianhe were only wills and not their actual bodies, the collision between them was still incomparably terrifying. The boundless strength qi that shook out caused many cultivators' pupils to shrink as they retreated. Shaoqi, run! Heaven Highness Jianhe snapped. He flicked his finger and fired a mystical ray. Huang Fu Shaoqi, who had yet to recover from the shock, quickly reacted. He performed a series of mystical hand seals to execute an ancient forbidden art. Are you seriously trying to leave in my territory? Heaven Highness Longrua glanced down at the scene. He waved his hand. The 4 golden dragons circling him roared into the sky and dove at him. Strong dragon auras surged at the cultivators. Bang! Empyrean Bladedriver's body and mind shook. The pressure on his body increased exponentially. Lin Xiaoji, Empyrean Longrua, the enmity of killing my son is absolutely irreconcilable. You'd better remember this. Empyrean Jianhe's hair danced wildly in the wind. He threw his head back and roared as his body began to disintegrate. Father! Huangfu Shaoqi was terrified. It was only at this moment that he was truly afraid. However, there was no medicine for regret in this world. In the next moment, the claw of a golden dragon landed on his body, killing him on the spot. The trembling dojo finally calmed down. This person is really not ordinary. Many rulers of Dao exclaimed when they saw Qin Nan's figure. If it had been them, then the ending might have been different. It's over. The faces of the cultivators who had previously helped Deacon Yi testify against Qin Nan were deathly pale, and their bodies and minds were ice-cold. Fellow cultivators, I've obtained the square dragon pattern. You should leave as soon as possible, Empyrean Longrua said calmly. He transmitted his voice to Qin Nan. The sword song system will make their move soon, but they won't dare to do anything as long as you stay on Dragon Elephant Island. If you want to leave, ask the hall leaders to send you away. Qin Nan brought his fists together and said, Senior, thank you for your help. Qin Nan was not too bothered by it. He did not have a good impression of the sword song system. Besides, if he remembered correctly, the sword song system would be eliminated in a year's time. By the way, Senior. Qin Nan suddenly recalled something. He said, I happen to receive a piece of news. It says that there will be some changes at the lower arcana realm of the Blue Dome next month. Empyrean Longrua raised his brows and said with a grin, Young cultivator, I'm quite impressed by you. You are only in the Master Realm, yet you already know about the Blue Dome? Alright, tell me more about it. Qin Nan said, It says that a treasure land will appear there. There's a copper lamp there. It's inconspicuous, but it's the most powerful. Empyrean Longrua nodded and said, I'll remember it. I'll take it if I stumble into it. Empyrean Longrua turned around and left after finishing the sentence. He did not care about Qin Nan's words at all. He assumed Qin Nan had been tricked by someone. After all, even he did not know the treasure would appear at the lower arcana realm of the Blue Dome. Young cultivator, I didn't have a good attitude just then. Please don't take it to heart. The hall leader of the Heavenly Merit Hall came over and brought his fists together with a smile. There was also a trace of admiration in his eyes. All along, his temperament and character had been extremely eccentric. Thus, he was different from other people. He liked people who were extremely daring. Hall leader, you're being too courteous. Qin Nan quickly returned the greeting. Young cultivator, Senior Empyrean Longrua, has asked me to bring you to the land of the hidden dragons so you can cultivate in seclusion for a month. Why don't we go now? The hall leader of the Heavenly Merit Hall asked. Qin Nan pondered for a moment. He was about to nod and agree when a strange sight took place. An invisible force loomed over him. It felt like a giant hand was grabbing his throat and neck. He could not nod, nor could he say a word. Qin Nan's eyes flickered with astonishment. He changed his mind and said, What kind of place is the land of the hidden dragons? He blurted out the words without any resistance. He changed his mind once again. He was about to say a word when the invisible force appeared again. Interesting. Qin Nan's lips curled upward. It was obvious that he would bring some changes to the future if he went to the land of the hidden dragons. Judging from the strength of the invisible force, it was most likely in the third tier. It would not bring too much of an impact to the future. However, Qin Nan had killed 2 peak masters of Dao and claimed the square dragon pattern when he returned to the ancient era. He even killed Huangfu Shaoqi. Each of his actions were significant in his eyes. However, none of them were hindered by the force of time and space. If he was hindered when he went to the land of the hidden dragons, it meant, the hall leader of the Heavenly Merit Hall said with a smile, "You're really ignorant." Chapter 23:16. Qin Nan's eyes flickered. The land of the hidden dragons was perfect for him. "Thank you, Hall Master, for bringing me there." Qin Nan brought his fists together. The Hall Master of the Heavenly Merit Hall nodded and headed into the rift. As for the cultivators on Dragon Elephant Island, it was meaningless to say anything apart from feeling jealous. They had no choice but to leave. Some time later, a piece of news spread in the fifth small immortal realm. "Hey, did you hear? A peak master of Dao called Lin Xiaoji has obtained the square dragon pattern." "Of course I've heard about it." He even asked Heaven Highness Long Ruo to kill Huangfu Shaoqi, the son of Heaven Highness Jianhe, the vice-patriarch of Jiansu Orthodoxy. Apparently, Heaven Highness Jianhe personally pleaded for mercy, but it was useless. Gasp! He only asked Heaven Highness Long Ruo to kill him 3 times, yet he dared to do such a thing. Isn't he being too full of himself? Let's not talk about that. Do you know where he got the square dragon pattern from? I heard it's in the treasure vault of the City Lord of Red Dragon City. Holy crap, wouldn't the City Lord of Red Dragon City cry his eyes out? On this day, countless cultivators committed Lin Xiaoji's name to memory. On the same day, Jiansu Orthodoxy announced that Lin Xiaoji had been expelled from the Orthodoxy for murdering his fellow disciples. Any disciple of the Orthodoxies who stumbled into him must kill him. On top of it, Jiansu Orthodoxy also sent many experts to the surroundings of Dragon Elephant Island to keep an eye on the place. If Lin Xiaoji dared to show himself, they would deal him a great blow. Meanwhile, on the other side of Dragon Elephant Island, the Hall Master of the Heavenly Merit Hall came to a stop. He said with a smile, "Young cultivator, this is the land of the hidden dragons." Qin Nan looked ahead and saw a huge ravine with a circumference of a few 100,000 zhang not far ahead. It was emitting a golden glow with illusionary dragons of different colors roaming inside while uttering roars at times. Qin Nan was startled when he sensed the place. The pure energy contained in the abyss was too vast, like an endless sea. Not to mention him, even if it was an Empyrean-level big shot, it would be more than enough to cultivate inside. Young cultivator, did you notice that the number of dragon claws on these dragon souls is different? The Heavenly Merit Palace Master asked. Yes, indeed. Senior, what's the difference? Qin Nan glanced around. Most of the dragon souls he saw had 9 claws, and only occasionally had 10 claws. Under normal circumstances, the dragon clan's bloodline is determined by their claws. 9 claws is the divine dragon, 10 claws is the immortal dragon, 11 claws is the supreme dragon, and 12 claws is the absolute dragon. The Hall Master of the Heavenly Merit Hall said, "Different dragon souls contain completely different dragon soul power. Given your current situation, it's best for you to try absorbing the 9-clawed divine dragon first. When the time is right, you can try absorbing the 10-clawed immortal dragon. This is to prevent your mind from being unable to bear it." The Hall Master of the Heavenly Merit Hall paused for a moment before he said, "A supreme dragon with 11 claws is slumbering in the depths of the land of the fallen dragons. If you're capable, you can try absorbing it later." Despite saying so, the Hall Master of the Heavenly Merit Hall did not expect Qin Nan to have the chance to absorb the supreme dragon with 11 claws. After all, Qin Nan's cultivation was still too low, and Qin Nan could only stay here for a month. It was already impressive if Qin Nan could absorb the dragon soul power of the 10-clawed immortal dragons. "Senior, thank you for your advice." Qin Nan brought his fists together and said, "Kid, don't try to fool me. Go down now, I'll keep an eye on you from above." Seeing the hall master of the heavenly merit hall sitting with his legs crossed, Qin Nan calmed his thoughts and walked into the abyss. The moment he took his first step, streams of pure energy surged into his body, causing him to feel incomparably warm. Art of the Immortal Demon. Qin Nan's figure immediately unleashed a shocking demonic intent, absorbing the pure energy into his body to temper his flesh. What kind of demonic art is that? The hall master of the heavenly merit hall was astounded. He could sense that Qin Nan's demonic art was extraordinarily outstanding. Battle Dao Immortal Manuscript. Following it, the arts of Dao seeking in Qin Nan's body began to emit blinding rays of light. The suction force that erupted from his body also multiplied, causing a relatively small vortex to appear around his body. The kid has practiced 13 arts of Dao seeking at the same time? And he's able to execute them so smoothly? The hall master of the heavenly merit hall was startled. It was not rare for someone to practice many arts of Dao seeking. Many people in the Nine Heavens immortal realm mentioned that those who practiced more than 5 arts of Dao seeking at the same time were considered to have embarked on an extraordinary path. However, no one had achieved what Qin Nan had done. Impressive, the kid has mastered his extraordinary path when he's only in the peak master realm. He's only a little weaker than Senior Long Rua in the past. The admiration in the Heavenly Art Hall leader's eyes grew thicker. However, as soon as the thought crossed his mind, he saw a 14th beam of light emitting from Qin Nan's back, which transformed into a giant net, trapping 10 nine-clawed godly dragons nearby within it. His will has materialized? The hall master of the Heavenly Merit Hall's eyes widened. TSK, this kid is really something. He might have a chance to see the dragon soul within this month, the hall master of the Heavenly Merit Hall exclaimed. The hall master of the Heavenly Merit Palace exclaimed, then closed his eyes to cultivate. He was initially worried if Qin Nan's will was enough to resist the will of the dragon soul, but it seemed like it was no longer necessary. Such a magical power of the dragon's soul! Qin Nan exclaimed in the abyss. The dragon's soul power was like water, flowing gently. Unknowingly, it fused with his mind and soul, causing it to slowly improve. I can easily absorb the 10-clawed immortal dragons with my current will. Qin Nan murmured in his heart. The light net immediately transformed and wrapped around the 10-clawed immortal dragons tightly. Roar! A series of roars exploded in Qin Nan's divine sense. A series of shocking auras surged toward Qin Nan like a peerless tide, causing his figure to tremble vigorously. Heart-slashing. Chapter 23:17. Time gradually passed. 10 days were gone in the blink of an eye. The crowd could only see Qin Nan's body being refined by the pure force, which made it look like a piece of glass, containing a terrifying force. The main force in his body had reached an unbelievable level. It had surpassed the strength of an ordinary master of Dao. On top of it, Qin Nan's will and the power of his soul had improved significantly too. The latter did not have any specific changes. Only Qin Nan could sense it. However, the former's change was quite obvious. It went from a single ray of light to 2 rays of light. In simpler words, if Qin Nan executed the heart-severing slash, he would be able to execute 2 slashes at the same time. Even though it was not a huge difference in terms of numbers, Qin Nan's will did not weaken. It was like they were facing 2 Qin Nan in the future. Whoosh! Qin Nan activated his will again. He surrounded the 20 10-clawed immortal dragons on both sides. The 10-clawed immortal dragons struggled and roared, yet they could not move an inch, as if they were facing a magnificent mountain. Around 5 hours later, Qin Nan absorbed the power of the 10-clawed immortal dragon's souls into his body. Qin Nan did not continue. He opened his eyes and glanced at the bottom of the chasm. If this place is able to stop me with the power of time and space, it's not as simple as it seems. The only thing that is going to change is the dragon's soul deep inside the chasm. Qin Nan murmured. He immediately dove into the chasm without any hesitation. Even though it was still a risky move, it was worth a try. Qin Nan soon sank over 1,000 li. Qin Nan sharply noticed that the number of 9-clawed immortal dragons had decreased. Most of them were 10-clawed immortal dragons. On top of it, every inch of the pure energy had a faint aura. As Qin Nan continued to sink, the aura grew stronger too. When Qin Nan had sunk over 10,000 li, the aura was fairly shocking. Even with Qin Nan's current cultivation, he was still under great pressure. The light in the surroundings gradually turned purple. The number of 10-clawed immortal dragons continued to decrease. Not a single one was left in the end. So that's the dragon soul? Qin Nan finally came to a stop. A few hundred li below him, an enormous purple dragon with the size of an ancient mountain range was quietly crouching there. Those huge purple dragon scales seemed to have a rhythm as they opened and closed, giving off a terrifying aura. Qin Nan could not help but feel minuscule as he stood before it. This dragon soul is indeed extraordinary. With my current cultivation, I'm afraid it's going to be quite dangerous if I try to absorb its will. While Qin Nan was immersed in his thoughts, he suddenly noticed a mysterious rune on each of the dragon scales, which would appear and disappear at times. Qin Nan frowned. He took a closer look at his surroundings and noticed that the pure energy was flowing into the dragon's soul at a shocking pace. Could it be? A shocking thought crossed Qin Nan's mind. Was it trying to break through? Was it going to evolve into the dragon soul of the absolute heaven dragon? It's very possible indeed. Qin Nan's eyes flickered. Otherwise, why would it be hindered by the force of time and space? The dragon soul is already so terrifying. How strong would it be if it evolved into the dragon soul of the absolute heaven dragon? Qin Nan took a deep breath and pondered for a moment. He approached the dragon's soul and sat on its head. The dragon's soul seemed to be unaware of his presence. It did not even lift its eyelids. Now is a good chance too, Qin Nan murmured. He unleashed the force of his will and began to absorb the energy. That being said, Qin Nan did not dare to absorb the energy with all his might. If the dragon's soul was trying to break through, he would only disturb it if he tried to absorb the energy. It might even cause the dragon's soul to fail its breakthrough. Time gradually passed. 5 days were gone fairly quickly. During this period, the runes on the scales of the supreme dragon soul had become extremely obvious. The pure energy in the surroundings was surging into the dragon's soul at a speed 10 times faster than before. The aura that was unleashed from the dragon's soul also multiplied and became even more terrifying. As Qin Nan had speculated, the dragon's soul was currently in the midst of a breakthrough. Meanwhile, outside the land of hidden dragons, the palace master of the Heavenly Merit Palace, who had been cultivating all this while, suddenly had a strange feeling in his heart. He opened his eyes. He glanced into the abyss and said with a calm smile, "I didn't expect the kid to go to the inner area so soon. I just hope the kid won't be too reckless. It's only been 15 days. It's still not time to refine the dragon soul." Just as he finished speaking, the Heavenly Merit Palace master furrowed his brows slightly. That strange feeling in his heart had actually increased by quite a bit. It was obvious that something serious was going to happen to a peak ruler realm like him. Suddenly, the Heavenly Merit Palace master noticed from the corner of his eyes that the souls of the 9-clawed divine dragons and 10-clawed celestial dragons seemed to have encountered something terrifying. They appeared anxious and uneasy. Their dragon tails kept swaying, and they occasionally let out dragon roars. Could it be? Something is wrong deep inside the land of hidden dragons? The thought crossed the hall master of the Heaven Merit Palace's mind. He immediately rose to his feet and entered the abyss. If something was wrong, he had to make his way there at once to prevent the kid from being harmed. At that instant an unexpected change took place. All the majestic and pure energy in the abyss began to boil rapidly, as though it was being burned by a raging fire. All the dragon souls in the surroundings swam wildly, their eyes filled with fear. Roar! A dragon cry came from the bottom of the abyss like a peerless clap of thunder. A shocking aura soared into the sky like a peerless immortal sword. This is... The Hall Master of the Heaven Merit Palace's eyes widened. He raised his head, as if he had sensed something. The sky above him had turned pitch black without him noticing. Red, purple, and golden lightning were rolling inside it. A terrifying aura of the power of calamity blew in all directions like a peerless storm. What's going on? Chapter 23:18. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. In less than 2 breaths' time, several figures descended from the sky. What's going on? A hall leader asked the hall leader of the Heaven Merit Palace. I'm not sure either. Cultivator Lin is still down there. I'll bring him back first. The hall leader of the Heaven Merit Palace shook his head. He was about to make his move when another hall leader stopped him and said, "Don't worry, let's see what's going on first." Saying this, the hall leader performed a hand seal to summon a watery screen and an image. In the image, each of the scales of the dragon was emitting a different glow. Ancient words floated in the surroundings and fell into the dragon like a heavy snowfall. Is it going to evolve into a heaven-extinguishing dragon? The hall leaders, deacons, and beasts were overjoyed upon seeing this. They and Heaven Highness Long Rua had always thought the heaven-extinguishing dragon was only an ancient legend that was impossible to evolve. If this supreme dragon really succeeded, then Lord Long Rua's strength would definitely increase by a lot. The entire Dragon Elephant Island would also become stronger, and they would also be able to obtain astonishing benefit. Besides, according to the legends, the heaven-extinguishing dragon possessed the art of the heavens and earth. If they were able to comprehend it, they might be able to achieve the Heaven Highness realm. Crap! The hall leader of the Heaven Merit Palace quickly collected his thoughts. It was too dangerous for Qin Nan to be on the dragon's head. Qin Nan might die either during the process or after the heaven-extinguishing dragon evolved into a heaven-extinguishing dragon. Everyone, let's work together and bring Cultivator Lin back. The hall leader of the Heaven Merit Palace yelled. He went up to the dragon's head? The other hall leaders, deacons, and the others were stunned. By the time they reacted, it was already too late. Roar! A dragon's roar echoed across the entire Dragon Elephant Island. The souls of the cultivators and living beings on the island shuddered. Following it, lightning of 3 different colors burst out from the dark clouds in the sky, turning into various kinds of tribulations of the Tao of lightning that surged into the land of the drowning dragon. Countless 9-clawed godly dragons and 10-clawed immortal dragons roared and swung their claws to defend themselves. The supreme dragon, who had been sleeping all this time, suddenly opened its pair of enormous dragon eyes. Boom! Boom! A series of shocking explosions took place. Retreat! The expressions of the various palace masters, deacons, and great demons changed at the same time as they flew backwards. An absolute heaven dragon soul has been born? At this moment, a dignified voice reverberated in the air. The changes in Dragon Elephant Island alarmed even Emperor Long Rua. My lord, young friend Lin is currently above the supreme dragon soul. Now that he's promoted to the absolute heaven dragon soul, it's very likely that he, the Heavenly Merit Palace Master hastily said. Don't worry. He has my token. I can sense his life force. If he is in danger, I will save him. Emperor Longrua said. All right. The Sky Merit Palace Master clenched his teeth, his fists clenched. After that, the entire dragonesque Elephant Island was engulfed in endless lightning. After an entire hour, the shocking collisions finally came to a complete stop. All of the black clouds had completely dissipated. Buzz. At that instant, a total of 99 different rare phenomena appeared deep in the sky. Countless cries of dragons burst into the sky. An unimaginable force loomed over the island of versatility. The immortal intent in the air suddenly multiplied by 5 times. The exotic flowers, rare herbs, natural treasures, and so on seemed to have received a huge boost. They swayed one after another and grew healthily. The absolute heaven dragon soul has been born. The palace masters, deacons, and great demons were overjoyed. Haha, well done, well done. Even Empyrean Long Rua burst out laughing. Only the heavenly merit palace master quickly performed the same hand seal to summon a water barrier. Even if that Lin Xiaoji isn't dead, he must have suffered a great blow. We have to use one of the remaining 2 chances to ask Senior for help. When the other hall masters saw this, they all thought to themselves, it was the legendary absolute heaven dragon soul. Even they would be in great danger if they tried to absorb its power, let alone Qin Nan, who was only in the master realm. Now that the absolute heaven dragon soul had been born, how could it possibly tolerate someone else sitting on its head? Isn't that? Empyrean Long Rua's will and the rest of the cultivators were stunned. In that scene, the absolute heaven dragon soul's originally incomparably huge body had already expanded by a full 3 times. All of its scales had transformed into a purple-gold color, and mysterious symbols were engraved all over them. It appeared to be awe-inspiring for all time. Qin Nan was sitting on its head. Not only was he unaffected, wisps of mystical light were rising from the absolute heaven dragon soul and flowing into Qin Nan's body. What's going on? Everyone present was filled with disbelief. Not only was it not targeting Qin Nan, it was helping Qin Nan instead? It seems like young cultivator Lin has ascended the absolute heaven dragon soul in advance. The absolute heaven dragon soul must have treated Qin Nan as one of its own since they were undergoing the tribulation together. Empyrean Long Rua said with a smile, "This young cultivator Lin is truly a fortunate man. He managed to turn a misfortune into a blessing." The patriarch of the Heavenly Art Hall was relieved. He burst out laughing, "That kid is very cunning." The corners of the other hall masters, deacons, and great demons' mouths twitched. What kind of heaven-defying luck was this? Empyrean Long Rua added, "It's worth celebrating that the absolute heaven dragon soul has been born on our island. Everyone in the Master Realm and above is allowed to enter the land of the hidden dragons and cultivate in seclusion for a month." He added after a slight pause, "That being said, no one is allowed to disturb young cultivator Lin now that he has such a great opportunity. The rest of you can only enter once he's done cultivating in seclusion." The aura of a heaven highness dissipated as soon as he finished the sentence. Done cultivating in seclusion? The envy and jealousy in the eyes of the people present became even stronger. Didn't that mean Qin Nan could cultivate in seclusion for a year in the land of the hidden dragons too? Meanwhile, deep inside the land of the hidden dragons, Empyrean Long Rua and the others did not expect Qin Nan to stumble into a shocking fortunate encounter when the absolute heaven dragon soul evolved into the absolute heaven dragon soul. Chapter 23:19. When Qin Nan was taught the 9 dragons seal, Qin Nan could only comprehend 3/10 of the heart-severing sword. The reason was that the heart-severing sword was created by the Heavenly Highness Xian Rua based on her own martial art. It was already the limit for an outsider to be able to use 3/10 of it. However, this time, due to a series of coincidences, Qin Nan was able to enter a mystical state of deduction. It was a state that countless cultivators dreamed of. If one wanted to invent a martial art, a master art, or a Tao art, they would need to be in the same state in addition to accumulating a lot of knowledge. Many experts in the 9 heavens immortal realm had outstanding martial skill talents and learned a lot of master art. They had gone through a lot of battles, yet none of them were in the same state until their deaths. If one could not enter it, they would not be able to start it. They would not have any chance to succeed. The Immortal Demon Scriptures. Qin Nan fully immersed himself in the scriptures. The arts of Tao seeking he had learned were activated in his body too. The essence of the arts of Tao seeking surfaced in his mind too. From a certain angle, the essence of the heart-severing sword was like a broken piece of a map. The other essences kept colliding with one another to give birth to new ideas to complete the map. First/soul stealing. Second/spirit God. Third/Tao emptiness. Fourth/oblivion heaven. Qin Nan unleashed wisps of saber intent, as if a peerless saber artist was dancing with his saber. It was smooth at times without any hindrance, but at other times it was difficult to execute. He could not bring himself to land the saber. It was impossible to invent a martial art or a Tao art in a short period of time. It required repeated attempts and refinement. Something like one-thought linking laws didn't exist at all. It wasn't something that could be done immediately with just a thought. Roar. The absolute sky dragon's soul under Qin Nan raised its head and uttered a long groan. Even though the sound was extremely loud and echoed in all directions, it was not deafening. It felt like the sound of the great Tao, as if it contained endless mysteries. Time passed day after day. Unknowingly, 3 months had passed. During this period of time, the cultivators stationed around Dragon Elephant Island were all called back because of the frequent conflicts between Sword Melody and Chaos Orthodoxy. Each time, the situation was more serious than the last. The relationship between the two great powers was not very good to begin with. All of a sudden, they were like fire and water. As for the name Lin Xiaoji, many people had forgotten about him after he rose to fame in the fifth small immortal realm. No one was talking about him, but they would occasionally remember a lucky master of Tao. This was because in the ancient times, major events involving celestial venerables happened every month. Many heaven-defying geniuses rose to prominence. For example, Tsang, Zhou-Di Huangfuju, and Yi Zhaoxian, who had shaken the entire Nine Heavens, immortal realm, a few years ago, had done a lot of things recently. Azure had killed an early-stage Empyrean exalt with his mastery of the sovereign realm cultivation. Rivers of blood flowed. Zhou-Di went to the land outside the Dharma on his own and found the legendary Undying Cycle Mountain to refine it. Huangfuju went to the 20th small immortal realm and assimilated 3 formidable factions into a demonic cult in less than half a month. He even defeated 2 early-stage heaven highnesses on his own. Yi Zhaoxian was outstanding too. Her cultivation in the greater success stage allowed her to enter the outer layer of the Blue Dome and return safely. Without a doubt, the general direction of the entire history had not changed at all. These 4 giants of the later generations had already begun to follow the path of history, displaying their peerless figures and leaving others in the dust. Many of those geniuses in the later generations could be said to be at the level of eternally stunning geniuses. Compared to them, they were overshadowed. Most importantly, they were still on the same level. They could only look up to them in the future. At this moment, in the deepest part of the land of the hidden dragon, the deductions in Qin Nan's divine sense had reached a bottleneck. He had refined the heart-severing saber to the 6 sabers severing saber, which had 6 forms in total. However, Qin Nan could feel that there was still something that he had yet to perfect. "I'm still clueless. As the saying goes, when there's no path left, create your own path. There's no construction without destruction. It's either collapse or be reborn." Qin Nan made up his mind. The essences of the 6 sabers heart-severing that he had deduced over the past few days collided with one another and shattered into pieces. Qin Nan's figure shuddered. The saber intents in the sky dissipated like a tortoise withering away. This state lasted for a total of 10 days before cracking sounds could be heard from his body. It was as if some kind of barrier was being shattered one by one. Qin Nan's eyes that had been closed all this time finally sprang open. It's done. Qin Nan clenched his fists in joy. The heart-severing saber was still a heart-severing saber. However, it was no longer 3/10 like before. It was a complete heart-severing saber. Even though the heart-severing saber was different from the heart-severing saber of the Heavenly Highness of Heart, it was still Qin Nan's heart-severing saber. Qin Nan soon realized that his flesh and main force had been refined to an unbelievable level. The will that he was emitting had multiplied from 2 to 4. His essence had improved tremendously. Young cultivator, congratulations. An ancient and imperious voice slowly appeared. The person was none other than the Ju Tian Dragon Soul. Senior, thank you for granting my wish. Qin Nan rose to his feet and brought his fists together. Don't mention it. You've helped me overcome the heart-severing saber by coming to my side. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have survived the calamity. The Ju Tian Dragon Soul said, however, young cultivator, can you come down from my head? You're making me feel very uncomfortable. As the Ju Tian Dragon Soul, it was quite impressive that Qin Nan was able to step on it for 3 months. Qin Nan collected his thoughts and apologized a few times before flying to the other side. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.